Yo, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of House Divided right here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Chad Hastings. Those are our X/Twitter handles. We're going to be with you for the next 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. Big old fun show planned for you today. As a matter of fact, the show is so good that Chad and I just did 45 minutes of a show earlier today because we just couldn't stop talking about all this stuff that we were going to talk about today on the show.
There was a lot of pre-babble today. A lot of pre-babble.
That was slightly bad Bill Cosby there for a second. All of the stuff that we wanted to talk about on the show.
There were things that you want to have on the show before the show. Now it'll be during the show.
Guys, do us a solid. We're going to be fools all day long. For that alone, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, get notifications, slam, 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 all those buttons. And then you'll never miss us. We'll always be right there. Just like Chad, when we get into the month of November on Wednesdays, from now until the end of the month, the college football playoff rankings on Wednesdays will just bam, bam, bam. They're all there. All there.
Mm-hmm.
It makes today's show like, oh, it's Wednesday. It's middle of the week. I don't know what to talk about. Now, the middle of the week is completely taken care of. And the thing is, I didn't know any of this because until really the last couple of weeks, I've never had any reason to even pay attention to the football rankings because I cover Texas.
Yeah.
Glory, hallelujah. What have we stumbled upon?
Yeah. For years, Ketch, I've been, it's one of those things where this last couple of days, I thought, oh, cool. Everybody's now joining me in looking at this stuff. I've been following the CFP every week. I follow what would the 12-team playoff look like. I've been following what would the 16-team playoff look like for, 8 years. Every week, and it drives everybody around me crazy. Well, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Now we got a projection for the 12-team. We'll be taking a look at that. But more importantly, forget about 12-team for a second. In the 4-team format, what Texas fans now have in their brain, it is brand new because this is the first time we've been in November and Texas fans really care about the CFP. They have reasons to care about the CFP. All we had to do, Ketch, is get you and me back together, and everything just starts rolling. Everything just starts rolling.
That's what I've been telling people for years. By the way, before we go any further, and we will take your super chats, and Peyton will take yours momentarily. Before we do that, though, What are you wearing?
I am wearing the official shirt from the Super Cooper golf tournament that Bo Edge is a part of. It's made by the Last Stand Hats people. It's camo sleeves, camo collar, white shirt. It's an interesting look. It's very comfortable.
I thought you were getting ready to eat some ribs and that you had a bib on, but then it looked like you had a collar.
Our man
made it just. I did. I thought you were getting ready to eat some ribs with a fancy bib.
Blake, the super producer, thought I was wearing like a Chandler Bing vest. He thought it was like a white.
That crossed my mind too.
Yeah,
like if I just thought it was a bib, I could have gone on for the rest of my day thinking that you were on the verge or in the middle of eating ribs. But then I was like, there's something else going on with that shirt. That
Chatty Shack. Well done. Well played, Jareth. Yeah. A little later this afternoon, I'm going to go swing the clubs over at Shadow Glen in Maynard. Shout out to Shadow Glen. And I figured, hey, comfy golf shirt. I'll take a look. Chad looks like a member of Color Me Bad. Fantastic. You know, Ketch, there's probably only one thing that could make this outfit any better? Can I get a salute to the U.S. Postal Service because it arrived? I told myself the next time I put on Texas Rangers gear, it's going to say World Champions. And then look at that bad boy. Look at that. Look at this thing they put on the side. Ketch, I don't know if you know what this is. You do because you're a Phillies fan. You remember 08. Look at that. That's like the trophy they give out for the champion. For the champion. And it's got look at that logo. That logo. This one. That's crazy.
Now, Chad, put the hat on because I want everybody to be able to see about the thing that I'm about to comment on.
All right, hit it. What do we got?
First of all, you look like a Vietnam veteran right now.
You ready to thank me for my service? Okay.
I swear, because it's just small enough that I can't make out what's even on the hat.
So it looks like one of
you look like you served in the Korean War. I'm just convinced that hat says something war related.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. My father-in-law was on the USS Kitty Hawk, and he has this hat that says USS Kitty Hawk. He wears it everywhere he goes, and he'll meet other guys, and they'll talk about the military guys. But you're right, at a distance, you can't tell. So it does look like I'm just ready for like a military golf tournament.
The other thing is the hat, when you take the hat off, your glasses look normal.
Yeah.
When you put them on, you look like Roy Orbison.
Oh my God. I'm so tired of being lonely. Yeah. Oh, there you go. There it is. There it is. So shout out to the champs. Get your gear. Get your gear, Rangers fans.
Oh man. Is this what we're doing today?
Maybe. We're with you. We're getting lots of laugh emojis. Jeff, that's hilarious from Anthony, and then another from Anthony, just a general. Blah! So there you have it.
I'm gonna try to pick it back up.
Here it is. Ready? You won't pick it up after this. Sandman says Chad is truly a man of the sheeple. Oh my God, that one. Even for me, Sandman, that's pretty bad when it comes to a dad joke. I mean, damn, sheeple? Really? Sheeple. All right. Michael says it looks like I'm wearing a sheep. This is not sheepskin. not sheepskin. That's not what this is. How dare you?
The thing is, I could never have guessed in a million years that me asking you about what the shirt was would just open up Pandora's box.
That's what it's about.
I like what we have planned in the show today, and I will not get more pleasure out of it. It's like peaking at 16. It's over with now. Like, nothing in the show will be better than Chad as a man of the sheeple.
I mean, think about it. You were not ready for Man of the Sheeple. You were not ready at the beginning of the show to be ordering a shirt with Blinky the Ghost on it because I somehow would become Blinky the Ghost. Sometimes you never know. You didn't know how much fun we would have on the first countdown segment. That's why we're bringing it back today, because it was so much fun. Can't wait for that. And there's a lot of football stuff to get into.
By the way, Sandman, we specifically discussed you earlier today in a phone conversation that we had because we are bringing back the 10 and 10, the countdown. I don't know what we don't have a name for this segment that we've been working on that we're going to do again later today, but you are Mr. Pun on the show.
Yeah. So
what we need for Mr. Pun and the rest of you is to help us name whatever this segment will be that we end the show. You know what? What about Blinko?
Blinko?
Like, can we just take someone else's idea and just take it?
I don't think that's how it works. And I don't think also the game itself, if it's a game, it doesn't really have that feel to me. It's not like
things bounce. It bounces all over the place.
It does bounce all over the place. What about HTFU? Hurry the fuck up. Can we just maybe do that? We could have a hashtag. The kids could get into it. No,
just hurry up.
Hurry up. HU.
What about the new Blinko?
The new Blinko. Oh God. HFU. Just hurry. Anyway, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I can tell we're one step closer to Brian Jones joining us on Thursday because you got F-bombs coming out early on Wednesday. You're very tame. And then the closer we get to Thursday, you are ready for Brian on Thursday. He kind of cheated last week. I think he owes you a couple as the third person moderator of that whole thing.
He got a couple light ones in. I never require a massive swear. He could show up and say "damn" every week. I don't care.
No, I think you care.
I'd rather have a big one, that's what he said. But yeah, I'd rather have a big dog. I'd rather have an MF. But you know, I'll take what I can get. He's now happily married to.
We want to keep him happily married.
Exactly. I want to keep him happily married. He's married to a non-swearer. I try to respect the non-swearing folks out there. I have non-swearers in my life. I try not to swear around them. And, you know, but Brian's just my favorite. And so I want a little bit.
Well, I've seen a couple. Tyler, I think, just wants us to call the new segment Enough with the Blinko.
Enough with the Blinko.
It's catchy, I think. I like this one just because it could be like, time's up, bang, bang.
Time's up. That's good. Living Color had a good song called Time's Up back in the day. That was their second album. Let's do that. So
I'm in Convict White and Chad is in Duck Dynasty Convict clothes.
This is the Duck Dynasty golf tournament, if you think about it. It really is. Like it's like a classy Duck Dynasty look for a golf tournament.
Which makes it perfect for Bo.
Exactly, right? It fits everything. Yeah, the Super Cooper tournament's cool, and shout out the Last Stand hats for.
What are we raising money for Super Cooper?
Super Cooper is an event they've done. This is a 7th year they've done it, and they raise money for kids to play adaptive sports. Cooper's a young man who's now, what did they say? He's already in 6th or 7th grade, I believe, and he plays wheelchair basketball. And so they raise money every year for those kids, and it's a great event. Chance Mock was out there. Got to see JD Lewis swing a golf club, which is glorious. JD Lewis.
Did we miss it, or can we still do something for it?
I mean, I'm sure the golf tournament is done, but I'm sure if there's a way to, you know, if you want to help with raising some money, I'm sure Bo would let you do that.
I bet we can get something going on Orange Bloods, make it happen.
Yeah,
participate. There you go. Do something good in the world as we get closer to Christmas. All right, let's dive into the playoff a little bit, because part of the playoff conversation that we want to have today, and it's not the only thing that we're going to do. Jason Sukamel is going to join us at 1:20 today. There's some recruiting stuff in the air. DeAndre Carter told Texas no officially yesterday. They've been working on that. So we'll get into some recruiting stuff. He of Mater Day, not Mater Day for you rednecks out there wearing spiffy white golf shirts like the one Chad has on. So we will get into that. As we said, we will do Blinky the Clown, or whatever we're calling this new segment. We've got that.
That might be the best name yet. Blinky the Clown. Blinky.
These are the words that come out of my mouth. And of course, we got buy or sell, crap bag. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff that we want to get into today. Your first thought, Chad. Your first thought. Nothing changes really with the top schools over the weekend going into Wednesday. And we kind of talked about this a little bit. I think you asked me in a buy or sell question, or I know we at some point earlier this week we talked about, and I mentioned that I personally thought that it would probably stay the way that it was. I think we talked about Ohio State and whether or not they would flip with Georgia. Mm-hmm. Your initial thoughts when you watched it last night?
First two questions in my mind were, should Georgia have been one? And then should Texas be above Oregon? Those are the two things that kind of, were blinking at me immediately. And it was interesting that the chairman is now, and I had to reset my brain once he said it, because when he made Rutgers into a top 20 defensive team, I thought, wow, he's really trying to justify this Ohio State thing. And I think of Rutgers as a horrible football team. But you reminded me this morning, like, no, they're bowl eligible. They are 6-3. So I had to remind myself of that. And so that battle jumped in my head. And then I start looking at Texas and the fact that they have still Texas over Bama for the, give them the head-to-head love, but then Oregon being above Texas. That was the next question in my head. And Greg McElroy jumped in on that discussion last night on the ESPN broadcast. So to me, there's a pretty good argument for Texas being above Oregon, but at this point, it really is all show in week 2. For anybody that would tell us, Ketch, that remember, guys, each week helps determine the net. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Just ask TCU people. Go call somebody in Fort Worth and tell them that each week really matters. It doesn't. Only thing that matters is the very last one, and they can think about it however they want. But, in general, I think
they're going to make up whatever they want.
Yeah.
To be the justification of whatever they want.
They'll make it up as they go. So that's what hit me at the top. And then at the very bottom, Ketch, I am just so impressed at how the aura of Bill Snyder is still in college football. He hasn't coached in years, yet Kansas State continues to get love off of him. I think he's the reason they are still ranked. People have fooled themselves into believing Chris Kleiman is Bill Snyder. He ain't. I think they're pretty good, but I don't think they needed to still be ranked. But the committee still likes them enough, and that's great news for Texas fans. We're going to talk about more of that, but that's what hit me at the bottom, that K-State stayed in.
It's funny. I assumed all week that K-State would fall out.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's really strange how some teams will win one week and they'll climb 7 spots. And other teams will lose and they'll fall 7 spots. And I tend to just think that losses cause bigger than two spot drops for most teams. But here's what I will say. The moment I saw Kansas State listed, I wondered out loud to myself, are there more deserving teams to be in the 23 spot? And I found myself not caring enough to look it up.
That's fair.
I could have gone to the top 25, looked at the teams from the top 25 that didn't get in to the playoff 25, and then looked at receiving votes to find a real, but I was like,
yeah. Because if you think about it,
fair enough to make an argument about that.
Yeah.
But I think that it does bleed into the thing that stood out the most to me, and there's some symmetry here. Kansas State is so important for Texas right now because I think you can make a case. I personally have Oregon ranked ahead of Texas. I don't have a vote that means anything. I'm not an AP voter. I don't vote for the Texas SID office to represent Texas's vote in the coaches poll. They should let me do that, though. I might take it seriously. I don't know. They probably won't if I'm going to rank Oregon in front of them. I don't know. For me, it comes down to if I thought Oregon and Texas played this weekend, who would I pick? Which is another way of saying, who do I think is better right now? And my gut, my eyeball test, whatever, seems like Oregon's playing better football right now than Texas did. I would even contend that in their loss to Washington, they played better in their loss to Washington than Texas played in its loss to Oklahoma. I don't know what that even means. Oh, you played better in a loss. You lost. But it's kind of the way that I feel about it. I've been watching a lot of Oregon this year. They look really good. For now, if they played on Saturday, given that Texas was in a fourth quarter battle with Houston, a fourth quarter battle with Kansas State, kind of a sluggish game against BYU, although it ends up being a blowout. I just don't think Texas in October was playing great football, and I feel like Oregon kind of was. Now, I understand what the rebuttal to that will be. Oregon hasn't played anybody, and to be fair, as good as that Washington loss looked to the naked eye, because I think it's the best college football game I've watched all year. beating Utah as their best win right now isn't remotely as good as Texas's best win, or their resume is not as good as the Texas resume right now. It's why Kansas State is so important, because as of last night, Texas has 3 wins on its resume against teams ranked in the playoff rankings. Mm-hmm. Nobody else has 3. And at least among the teams that are battling Texas to be in that spot, in the top 4 at the end of the year. So Texas needs Kansas State to stay ranked. Because in a week from now, if Kansas State were to lose this weekend, the Texas resume looks different, right? Well, now they have 2. It is this fluid thing about what's a good win and what's a bad win or a great win. What we think of Kansas and Kansas State right now could look completely different in a matter of weeks based on either what they do in terms of positive play or negative play. It is for me the thing that makes the playoff in general. The games are going to be fun, Chad, but we're really getting a taste right now of when we get to a 12-team ranking, and this thing involves all of the teams are in the top 25 or 30 in November. Every game matters. Every game impacts another team's resume. And it's like a stock market of sorts, and what goes up and what's going down. And I think it's already a hell of a lot of fun, because there will be games this weekend that we wouldn't otherwise care about at all. Texas fans are waiting to get the hell out of the Big 12 conference so that they don't really ever have to do the Big 12 thing ever again. And yet, in the final 3 to 4 weeks of this existence as the Big 12 as we know it, Texas is going to be watching 11 a.m. games involving Texas Tech and Kansas State, and we'll have like a definitive rooting interest. Texas needs Kansas State to stay in that top 25. And it's not as important as the actual games that you play, but it's kind of not far off either. Texas needs to keep winning, as do all of these teams in this discussion, but you really need the teams that you win to keep winning, and all of the teams that you play in general to stay and be as good as humanly possible.
Yeah, so on the other side of it, think about the win Florida State has against LSU. LSU now has 3 losses. Think about the Ohio State win over Notre Dame. Notre Dame now has 3 losses. So those 2 teams don't need to slip any further, or then it's not as good of a win at all. And to your Kansas State point, Ketch, we got a great chat in from one of our guys. I believe this is LSU Chad. Kansas State play each other. Which team should Texas pull for in that game? I think that's the simple answer, Ketch. This week, it's Tech at Kansas, and it's Baylor at K-State. You root for both Kansas teams to win. Specifically root for K-State to just annihilate Baylor. Then they'll both be ranked when they play, and my guess will be, Ketch, Texas fans would need to root for K-State.
So in a barn burner of a game.
Yes, play a barn burner, root for the lower ranked team, because then the higher ranked team probably doesn't slip out, and they'll both stay ranked at the bottom of that. You want to come out of
Kansas beats Kansas State could drop out.
Right. You want to get to the end of that game, Chad, and still have them both ranked. Have them feel like they're both relevant. That would really help Texas out.
Because it's very arbitrary at this point in the rankings to be like, there may be a team that has a win over the theoretical 27th or 28th best team. Utah could end up being one of these teams. They're 18th, but they play back-to-back ranked games, and they could be 7-4 in like a week and a half. And suddenly, Oregon's best win, it doesn't even get counted, because we're starting to see they're counting how many ranked wins you have. So sneaking in at 25 in the coaches poll and in the AP doesn't matter at all. Sneaking into the 25 of the playoff poll is a metric that is apparently going to be one that counts. And whereas there's no real difference between 25 and 27 in reality, it's like a big old bag of it's just a mixture of teams that on any given day can be assorted in any order, and it's as good an order as any other. But now it's the arbitrary part of all of this matters, because if you're inside that top 25, you're of real significant value. And if you're not, it's like, well, it never happened. It doesn't count. It's not as good as these other things. When Texas beat Kansas a couple of weeks ago, nobody thought much of that win at the time. Today, damn, that's a good win, Chad. And if we were actually in December and think it was this, Texas, I think would be really hard done to be behind Oregon from a resume standpoint based on the value of that KU win today and the Kansas State win.
Yeah. A lot of good chats coming in, including from the one and only Anwar Richardson back in, not just talking about how great I look in this shirt, but he says Texas needs to pull for Oklahoma State more than any other team. Beating Oklahoma State in the title game can be what tips Texas over the edge. I don't know if it's any other team, Ketch, but that also is a factor. Oklahoma State's at 15 right now. So let's also think about in championship games, who is the opponent for some really good teams? Texas, Florida State, Washington. Who are their opponents in those games?
Potentially Oregon as well, right?
Right. And how good are they?
Those two teams play each other twice.
Yeah. How good are those teams? Because somebody else throws this in. Zion says, isn't the most important thing Texas winning out? If they do, they'll make it into the CFP. No, Zion, that's not right. 4 undefeated teams will get in before Texas, period. You can't leave. You would not put Texas in over an undefeated Florida State ACC champ that just beat Louisville. You couldn't do it. There's no way that committee will do it. This week, you need Florida State, or some point, you need Florida State or Washington to eat one. You need them to lose a game along the way, somewhere. You just one. You don't need
that, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need both, Ketch. You just need one of them. You need one spot to open up. So far, there's not one obvious spot to me. There's not an obvious spot for Texas yet.
No, well, you'll need ultimately 2 of those teams to lose to get to 4, because there's 5 undefeateds right now, and then Oregon, and then
Texas. But you get one in the Michigan-Ohio State game anyway.
True.
Like one of those gets kicked out automatically.
What will be interesting, though, in each of those situations, and when we talk about like the arbitrary nature of all of this, how far does the loser of that Ohio State-Michigan game fall in the pile of one-loss teams?
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, I saw Kansas State lose this weekend, and I assumed, well, Kansas State won't be in the top 25 this week. And they only fell 2 spots. They went out of their way to keep Kansas State in. They said, you know what? That was a good loss to Texas. Not really going to punish them. And in not punishing them, what they really did was not punish Texas for beating Kansas State. So is that what we should expect from now on when we see ranked versus ranked, really high-ranked teams? If it's a really close contest, the loser should expect to not plummet.
Sure.
I think we know that from week to week they're going to make it up as they go. I bring it up now just to put it out there on the record. We've seen how they'll treat certain teams following certain games. It'll be fascinating to see if, from a consistency standpoint, is that what we see? Or will there be a week where there's a really good game and one team loses and they fall 7 spots? And the way that might impact the proceedings from there could be really impactful.
Yeah, it shows us, I think, the difference. It may be the difference just between like and love right now. I think the committee really, really likes Texas. I think right now they love Oregon. And that's what got Oregon that little nod over Texas. But, yeah, they looked at the game in Austin. They probably didn't see another game like this around. You said you didn't look it up, the thing at the bottom of the rankings. I wouldn't have looked that up either. But I bet if we did, we wouldn't find that ingredient. On the road at a top 10 team that, by the way, beat Alabama on the road, and you go fight them right to the end, and you literally had plays to win the game. And if I change like one play, you win the ball game. That type of fight got rewarded by them staying in the ranking. And again, great news for Texas. Now just hope that Kleiman's group keeps going, because it'd be embarrassing if Baylor beats them this week. That's in Manhattan. They need to step on Baylor and then set up this in-state matchup for what it needs to be.
But the thing is, what makes this, and look, some people will disagree with me, Chad, and they'll say, well, this isn't fun. This isn't what I would describe as fun. And if that's your response to what I'm about to say, I get it, I guess. But I like watching football, Chad, in general. In fact, sports. I talk to you about the UFC in pay-per-views all the time about this, which is, and with my other UFC friends, if you slap rankings on the fighters, I care. Mm-hmm. And if you give me a guy who's ranked versus a guy who's not ranked, I care a lot less. And if you give me two fighters with no rankings at all, I just don't care. I need to believe, even if it's fake, I just need to believe, oh, this matters. Rankings matter. And so these guys fighting means that one guy moves up and another guy moves down. Saturday, Kansas State and Texas Tech. I'm in. Let's watch some football and go Kansas State. Yeah. I'm in to watching all of these games and watching the stakes of the games. I mentioned it earlier. There's a Tennessee-Missouri game this week. Now, next year, where there's 12 teams that make the playoff, a 13 versus 14 game. I mean, game day might show up for that. That feels like a damn Super Bowl when you start talking about 12 get in, 13 versus 14 play against each other. That feels significant. And this week, it's not really all that significant. And one of the reasons why it's not all that significant is because the arrangement of the teams at the top of the rankings at this point don't need that game to matter that much. Yeah. Eventually, we might get to a point where it's like, well, Alabama, they beat Tennessee. So that's now a top 10 win. But right now, we're not quite there.
The only reason right now that game jumps out at me because that's a team that just played Georgia versus a team that's about to play Georgia. But you're right. Moving forward, that's a 7-2 matchup, and that's what I look for in the NFL. Winning matchups, and hopefully we'll get more respect for those as we move forward as college football fans. Because, Ketch, I hate it when people throw teams away after a couple losses. Hell, even 3 losses. I hate the idea that we just throw these teams away and they're meaningless. You're right. Next year, Tennessee, Missouri would be just go look right now. In fact, Blake, do we have the CFP we can throw up for the people in terms of looking forward, Ketch? And we'll use this today to look at different stuff, but this is everybody involved. Everybody just look at 12 to about 18, right at the edge of a playoff. Oregon State, Tennessee, Missouri, Oak State, Kansas, OU, Utah. We understand LSU and Notre Dame have both lost 3. But that group from 12 to 18 is pretty salty. Like, are they elite? Are they No, but sometimes the team that wins the NFC or AFC South isn't elite, but we're still interested. It still matters, and they still have a chance in a playoff system. So next year, the idea that number 13 and 14 are about to play each other, Ketch, that's a game to get you into the playoff at that moment.
Yep.
That's how important that game's going to be. And for a team like Louisville, for a team like Penn State this week, and they kind of are anyway, but Penn State would be playing for their playoff existence if they were playing Michigan right now with a 12 team on the way. So,
except it's like watching, you ever go to like Dave and Buster's and you play one of those games where like a wheel spins or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's going to give me like 500 tickets. And then it lands on like 10.
Right.
When you play these games matter, because if you're Penn State at the end of this month and you're 10 and you lose, you're done, right?
Right.
If you're 10 and you lose late, it's you can only afford to drop 2 spots.
Sure.
But if they play Ohio State competitively, lose this weekend, let's say they drop to like 16, then with 2 weeks and the championship games left to go, they still have a chance. They still have, they know teams are going to lose. So it gives you time. It's a game of musical chairs. And after the championship weekend, the music stops next year. And the difference between 12 and 13, I think will feel so much more cold-blooded than – because the thing is, at 4, you're leaving teams out. There's a good chance Washington could end up having a loss. Same with Oregon. Florida State's, I think, been worthy of the top 4 all year long. And, the moment they lose, they're in that pack of 1-loss teams. And you can make a case for all of them. You can make the case for Texas over Oregon, just like the committee right now, and even myself would say, well, I've got Oregon ranked over Texas. It will be much harsher, I think, when we get to 12, because there's really not much of a difference between 12. It'll be like when we get to the NCAA tournament in basketball, and we're quibbling over who's worthy of being a 12 seed. There's like 30 teams in college basketball that you could say, well, they could be the 12 seed. There will be about 10 that I think will feel like they can argue to be in a top 12. There will be some hard feelings, man. It'll be hardcore when you get to that point next year. The teams that get left out on the outside looking in will really feel like they're worthy, and that the timing more than anything else will be the thing that undoes them.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one other team. If this were a 12-team playoff this year, guys, Kansas is going to play Kansas State in 2 weeks.
No,
if this was a 12-team playoff, if Kansas beats Kansas State, like they would theoretically have a shot at that 12-team playoff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Kansas, the Jayhawks this year. Yeah. If that were the case.
Yeah, and of course the other factor to look at as we move forward with this thing is that you're going to also have at least one G5 being involved in that 12-team playoff.
I can't believe they let that happen.
But the bottom line, Texas fans, easiest thing to tell you is those top 5 teams. It's not bad news if any of them lose. A loss for any of those teams is good news for you right now. And specifically, I would tell you, here's what I'd do if I'm a Texas fan, Ketch, because obviously they're going to plan to join us on the watch along at 6:30. But I would sit down at 11 and watch Texas Tech and Kansas, and I'd root like crazy for Kansas to win that game. By the way, you can go ahead and root for Penn State to beat Michigan too. That wouldn't necessarily hurt you. At 2:00 is when Baylor goes to K-State. Make sure you got your ESPN Plus up to date for that one. I'd root for K-State. And then at 2:30, Florida State and Washington both play. Florida State is playing Miami. Root for the Canes. Washington is playing Utah. Root for the Utes like crazy. That's what I do.
It is like the NFL. It's like the NFL, where at the end of the season, you find interesting bed partners.
Absolutely. Sometimes you have to root for teams in your division. Sometimes you have to root for teams you can't stand, but it will help you out. So if you're a Texas fan and you've never done this, I'd practice doing this week, because you need the U to help you. In fact, it's 2 U's. It's the U and it's Utah. I don't know what theirs is. Do they do the same thing?
In Kansas, they just sway.
They sway like the wheat and the corn? Yes, I think so.
You need
Whatever.
to practice to sway the wheat, because you need Kansas to keep winning.
Yeah, and that's great news if you're a Texas fan, because that will be at the expense of Texas Tech and Baylor losing. And who doesn't love that?
I mean, they're worthless for both of those teams. Everybody right now.
Come on. And then, of course, Texas wants to beat Texas Tech a little later on. So there's there's so many different things to pay attention to. And we'll just we'll be updating. It's wild. We'll be updating, Texas fans on this because, again, Ketch, they have not had to deal with this in the CFP era. This is what Alabama and Georgia fans live with every day of their lives.
That's why they're so happy.
Every single day.
Yeah, their general quality of life has improved because they got all this to look forward to every year.
Exactly.
Let's hit some super chats from the Specs chat. Peyton Ross, Malik almost gave the game away last week. How does the bad decision-making affect the mindset of the older guys in the locker room? And he wanted to just point out that he was not calling for Arch and asking this question.
Yeah, and that's fair. That'll affect an older guy. That's human nature. But I mean, he's their quarterback, so they'll support him. But yeah, in the back of their mind, they probably didn't enjoy those turnovers.
I think we got to remember Malik's probably the most popular guy on the team. All of the guys I think are going to be there to support him. I think all of them also know that, it's a kind of an unfair situation for him to be thrusted into. No experience, the weight of the world as the quarterback. I mean, all those guys realize the quarterback position, kind of a taxing job. Not everybody can be that guy. I think it might affect the mindset of the older guys if it happened more than once. Let's say they played this weekend against TCU and they just survive, and then they got to keep playing with Malik, and then it feels like you're really holding on, and that this might catch up to you at some point. But I think they see that Quinn's about to come back. So I don't think the older guys I don't think they're in their feelings in any way right now, Chad. Like, I think if it's something it's sustained as an issue, okay. But I think they're all thrilled. They've never been in this spot before. I don't think they're spending any time right now thinking about what almost happened because Malik was playing quarterback. I think a different set of circumstances would need to be in play for it to be an issue.
Peyton, thank you for that super chat. Our man Oscar over at the university. Wait a minute. Hang on. We both clicked on something at the same time.
I didn't do anything.
All right. My bad there. Let's get Oscar's here. It came in first. Oscar's $9.99. Yes, we're back for another day. We have a team ranked in the top 10. Woke up, played some George Strait, full blast on the way to the lab. Now I'm here. Let's get after it today, fellows. Hook 'em. Oscar, I need to know what George Strait did you have playing? Let's go. Fast George Strait, slow George Strait, scream it out, George Strait. What were you looking at there? Please let us know. You don't even have to super chat it.
You read my mind, Chad. I was thinking the exact same thing. What's your George Strait on the way to, like, you're going somewhere, you need to be badass at wherever you're going. What's your George go-to there?
Yeah, let us know. We're two music snobs.
What's yours?
You can't just throw that out. It's going to depend on it'll depend on the mood. If I'm going in early, probably Amarillo by morning.
Oh, it does feel like a crack of dawn.
Right.
Get it going. It feels like I'm with you a little bit there.
Little moisture in the air. And when he says bucking at the county fair, I almost cry every time. Let's go. Let's do it. Fire me up.
You Look So Good in Love gets me fired up. If you play a George Strait waltz, I'm ready to fight at the end of it.
Now, if you need a quicker George Strait, maybe a little right or wrong, something like that, where the band gets to show off, ace in the hole, something like that. That's maybe the one for a football week, because it makes you think you got a little secret, right? A little secret that nobody knows, and the band's tearing it up. Come on.
I like to just put in like the George Strait top 50 number ones album.
Yeah.
And then just hit like the Russian roulette and let's see where it takes me.
Actually, you know what? Forget all that. I'll go back to the 4th grade. Fireman. Just go fireman. That's it. Just go fireman. Putting out old flames. I can put up when it gives you an attitude. That's where I'd go. That's
all right, Darkborg in the chat. What up, Darkborg? Good to see you. Pete K is closer to Bull Reese in terms of coaching caliber than he is to Greg Robinson, Will Muschamp. That's a buy or sell question. Side note, I did not realize Bull Reese's defense at Texas ranked 6th, 7th, and 16th. It's some good defenses.
Okay. Closer to Bull Reese in terms of coaching caliber than he is to Greg Robinson or Will Muschamp. Man, that's a tough one to break down. I guess right now I guess it's a buy.
I think I guess it's a buy is probably correct. First of all, I don't put Will Muschamp on the Greg Robinson DC tier. Greg Robinson legitimately coached back-to-back Super Bowl teams to championships as a defensive coordinator. And then when he came to Texas, like, was part of literally like just changing a mindset. And then never forget that when Mac finally got tired of firing guys at the defensive coordinator position, Greg Robinson came in 2013 and almost saved his job. Like to me, Greg Robinson, I don't think NFL fans, Kansas City Chiefs fans, Denver Broncos fans, I don't think they look at him with the amount of respect that I do. But Greg Robinson's on another tier for me. Then there's a Will Muschamp tier. Yeah, and then I guess I'd put Bull Reese and Pete K closer together.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Darkborg, thank you for that super chat. Jason, I think we might have skipped yours, but let's get back to it. $10. Did TCU steal our signs last year? Do you think the staff had addressed how thoroughly we were handled at home last year? It's one of the only teams that we had no answers for. Ketch, long before that Michigan story surfaced, there was that discussion. Remember back in the offseason, I guess it was, that there was thought among the Texas crew that TCU knew a little bit, had some intel going into that 17-10 close win.
I think they had everything. Signs, signals, maybe a leftover playbook or two. Like I think, yeah. No, I think TCU had the goods.
Yeah, so Jason, they got to get that obviously get that tied up. TCU is not fantastic, but they're a team that, if you let them hang out, they can obviously. And you're at home. I mean, you're at their place. Sorry, you're at their place. Night game. They're going to be fired up, ready to go. By the way, thanks, Mark. If you just meant the $9.99 by itself.
This was his question.
There we go. What would have to happen for Texas and Alabama to make the playoff? That would be unbelievable. Bama wins out and beats Georgia.
They'll be in.
Georgia probably still gets in, and then you'll just need, like we talked about earlier, a spot to open up. You'll need a Florida State or a Washington to have a loss and then go head up in a comparison with Texas. And Texas, you would hope then, would have better wins, would have the better loss. And
Georgia loses to Alabama on a neutral, and Texas beat Alabama at Alabama, then in a lineup of one-loss teams between Georgia and Texas will be in front of Georgia, I think. Texas is a real thorn in the SEC right now because of that win at Alabama, because they seem to be blocking. I think if you took Texas out of the mix and it was just an Oregon-Alabama discussion, I think after the performance on Saturday night where Alabama beat LSU in a really good game, I think they would be in front of Oregon. Texas is just blocking Alabama's path from being able to do anything. And I think should Alabama beat Georgia later in the year, Texas isn't getting left out. Like, they're not getting blackballed behind two SEC teams. I think it would be bad news for Georgia at that point.
Yeah, I would disagree with that until I see it play out. I think the committee's going to give love to Georgia in that spot, because I think Texas needs a different slot. They'll need a slot opened up by something else. If Bama beats Georgia like 17-10 in Atlanta, they're not leaving Georgia out. Not with one loss.
So let's say
that's just me.
There's two undefeated teams, a Big Ten team, and let's say Florida State.
Okay.
Everybody else has got one loss.
All right.
Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game. I think they're in.
Yes.
That would leave Georgia and Texas. And in theory, Washington, Oregon.
Yeah.
A flood of teams. Who you think Georgia at that point would get in over Texas?
I think, and if it came down to that, if it literally came down to those two teams, yeah, I do.
Okay. I disagree, but I know why you feel the way you feel. Like I'm not confused.
It's that discussion about resume versus eye test, and you know how they're going to do it. They're going to give Georgia every opportunity to be back in that playoff, and a close loss to Bama, I don't think it's enough to kick them totally out of it. But we'll see. All right. Mark, we appreciate the chats. A lot of good stuff coming in. We'll get to more of those chats. We've got buy or sell coming up at 1. We've got Jason Sukumel coming up at 1:20 to talk recruiting. I still haven't officially heard about this possible bad news for my Aggies. We need to get into that. Apparently, there's even more possible bad recruiting news for my Aggies.
You just need to be prepared.
Yeah.
Did they just call that Wednesday for the rest of the year?
I know I'm bracing myself for what this is. Over 330 people in that Specs chat right now. Real quick, let me tell the folks about Sinus and Snoring Specialist. If you need to sleep better, feel better, rest better, Sinus and Snoring Specialist is the place that can do it for you. I had another great night's sleep last night. My wife is doing well with her CPAP machine, and we are on different paths in terms of what we do every night when we go to bed to get a great night's sleep. That's because it's different for every person. So there's your QR code. Some of you have already told them you've been over there, you've met with Dr. Slaughter, and you've gotten the process started. They do so much cool stuff over there. Can get rid of your allergies for good. They send you home with a sleep test. You sleep in your bed, sleep in whatever position you normally do, and they use that information. How's that for data? They use the info to help you be healthier and rest better. That's what it's all about at Sinus and Snoring Specialist. So check them out. They're right there at Mopac and Palmer. 601-0303 is the number, or you can go sinussnoringent.com or just click that QR code right there. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. And it is a healthy version of Texas. It's sitting at 7 in the CFP. Last night, they stayed at 7 in the CFP. No big shakeup. Ohio State stayed 1, Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and then you've got Washington and Oregon 5-6. There's a discussion kind of, did Texas need that 6 spot? And then with 6, 7, 8, 9, as you count down, there is a lot of, well, this team beat this team. So Washington stays above Oregon. Texas stays above Bama. And Bama stays above Ole Miss. It just works perfectly as you roll down the list. Thanks to someone who just scanned that QR code there for Sinus and Snoring. All right, so Ketch, we got about 7 minutes until buy or sell. Did we get all those super chats taken care of?
We did. If somebody wants to get in a super chat right now, there's no wait.
Okay.
There's no wait because we got buy or sell coming at the top of the hour. This would be the time to do it, but no, we're good as this exact second.
Yeah, a lot of people disagreeing with me on the chat. The idea about Texas, the whole Texas-Georgia thing, this is the simplest way I've seen it. James said, Chad, you wrong, brother. In terms of that matchup, I didn't even think about it as that matchup because I think Texas will lose it. I think they need to find another slot. So, and we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. And again, if Bama wears Georgia out, that's a little different discussion, but we're talking about a close situation in Atlanta. Like y'all are telling me for sure, if those teams are ranked like, I don't know, 2 and 4 or 2 and 6 or whatever the numbers would be, you're telling me if Alabama beats them by that much, that the committee's just going to automatically turn to Kirby Smart's group and throw them away and put up 4 others in? All right. We'll see.
Well, see, I know where you're coming from because the committee loves the SEC, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
The SEC gets a level of benefit of the doubt that's different than everybody else, and it's been earned.
Yeah, and this is a 2-time back. It shouldn't matter. I know everybody's going to say, Chad, it's year to year. Yeah, of course it is. But the fact that they are the back-to-back national champs is not irrelevant in this discussion. It is not. Because I keep saying I'll keep saying the word again. It's a pageant. It's a pageant. And if you're having a woman walk across the stage that's trying to be back to back to back Miss USA, and you want to tell me that doesn't matter, I disagree. It does matter. It matters to the judges. The judges will think of it that way. They're going to give Georgia every chance to be in this playoff, even above a Texas. That's all that is the only argument I would make. Because Ketch, there are not many things in college football that can actually cast a shadow on Texas. But these are 2 of them that exist, the SEC and Georgia right now. They're just, both of those things are bigger deals than Texas right now. To me, they just are. And that could be a big deal when we get to that last big day in December.
I also don't completely agree with Chad, guys, but I think there's another layer to this, in that even if it won't matter in the end because you think Georgia and Alabama will play each other, but at some point, Texas has got to start playing better football, or the committee will start looking for reasons to put Alabama in front of Texas.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
They're one spot behind them. And at some point, if you're Texas, you can't give them they're not playing. Because we saw it in 2008. Don't tell me that head-to-head always matters. It doesn't. We learned our lesson.
Yeah, Ketch, what did I say the other day? You asked me about how I look at the rankings. I think the committee will think about it like I do. All you need is a spacer. As long as you have a spacer team, you're good. They'll rank Texas above Bama above Texas as long as they've got a spacer team in the middle.
Alabama jumps in front of both Texas and Oregon.
Yep.
And then suddenly it's it's not even a conversation of those two teams.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's Bama, Oregon, Texas. It's like, well, wait, Texas beat Bama. Yeah, that's irrelevant. Sorry, they're not right next to each other. So I don't know what you're talking about.
They'll move the bar. They'll say, well, Alabama is worse. Alabama's loss not as bad as, ironically enough, the Texas loss. You just wait until they start twisting things in order to fit the narrative that they want. Chip, boy, Freudian slip there. Chad's not wrong about that. Like, we've seen it enough to know literally next week they can come up with a different set of reasoning for why the rankings are whatever they've decided next week they want to do with. By the way, Chad, Oscar, he's got himself a list. He didn't just give us a song.
Okay. Let's see. The Wake Ups. Stars on the Water. Not bad. Fireman. That's a good one. Heartland's a good one. Yeah, that'll get you going. If you ain't loving, you ain't living. And Troubadour, because it's my favorite of all time. Those all work. Good job.
People that love Troubadour.
They do. Yeah. It's a good song. Not my favorite George Strait song, but it'll get in your soul. It will.
It's not my favorite George, and I don't even know if it's in my top 10 favorite George. But people who love Troubadour will never back down an inch.
That's right.
You can't tell them Fireman. You can't tell them anything.
Nope.
The people that love Troubadour are all in for some Troubadour.
Thank you, Oscar. We appreciate it, and we appreciate that super chat for you to tell us about your George Strait situation there. Here's another one from Darkborg, $9.99. Does the SEC want two teams in the playoff? Or is there a value to them stealing a conference champ and playoff team from the Big 12 for 24 marketing? No. The SEC wants two teams in the playoff now, immediately.
They want their cake and they plan on eating it too.
Don't worry. When they can claim Texas and Oklahoma victories, they'll do it, but that'll be later.
It's actually a game called the SEC Wins. Everything that happens, the SEC gets to claim a victory in.
Yes, that is true. Ketch, think about this, though, as we go forward. It's going to be amazing, all the brand names that are going to exist in the SEC. But what happens if we get to what you're talking about, what we're just discussing here? Can you imagine if this committee actually has to sit down and sort things out amongst a one-loss Alabama, Georgia, Texas after champion? I mean, that would be insanity. I don't care if you're an Ohio State or Michigan fan, whoever wins that one. Certainly if you're a Pac-12 fan, even if you're a Florida State fan, as long as you'd have one loss there, you ain't got nothing for sure.
Well, I think the thing is, everybody's expecting that three SEC teams will regularly can you put the top 25 back up, Blake, for a second? The SEC routinely gets in two. Maybe not routinely, but they've done it before where two teams get in from the SEC. So in expanding it to 12, there's an absolute, I think, understanding that three SEC teams is a given. So in 2024, if it looks like this, Texas, Alabama, Georgia are in. I think what's interesting is Ole Miss at 9, Tennessee at 13, Missouri at 14, Oklahoma at 17, LSU at 19. The rest of the sport's not going to allow for just 6 SEC teams to get in. I think we may see them squeeze to 4. And I think the SEC will say, we deserve 6. We deserve 7. If it's really about the best 12 teams, it won't be. And you will see the rest of the sport collectively do what they have to, I think, draw a line so that only so many SEC teams are getting in. But put it back up again, Blake, real quick. If you were to say, all right, well, they can get 4, but not another one after that, well, then what the hell what do you do with Tennessee, Missouri, and Oklahoma if Louisville and Oregon State on the last week of the season lose out?
Mm-hmm.
You have to really manually, as a human, go in and manipulate what you've created to make it work the way that you otherwise. I love the drama. A lot of people I saw some people were like, God, this does not sound like fun at all. Are you kidding? This is human manipulation at its finest. I'm here for this. Okay, I'm good, Blake.
Yeah, there'll be years. I think 3 is a given. I think 4 is going to be fairly normal at times.
Agree.
And then there'll be years where there might need to be, 5 or whatever. And when somebody said that, where'd it go? There it is. That said Chad is having too much SEC bias. I don't know if I'd call it an SEC bias, but an SEC understanding of how things work.
And by the way, in like 5 months from now, you'll have one too.
Yeah, I was going to say, get ready. It's coming. It is absolutely coming.
Trust me, that confirmation bias comes quickly.
Yeah, it does. We are over the 1 o'clock hour, which means we have buy or sell coming, but we also have Michael's super chat. Let's grab that at 4.
You're sneaking it in, you sly devil. Nice job.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, I'll learn. Buy or sell. Since we're going to buy or sell, let's get a primer. Quinn should sit unless he's truly ready. Sam played with an injured throwing shoulder in 2018 and was awful. Play Malik and run it 40 times.
Sell. For
multiple reasons. Mainly, I don't know if your coach is going to do that last part.
I mean, look, what do I care? What do any of us care if Quinn Ewers plays in pain on Saturday? That's a him problem.
Wow. Now that
is a Texas problem.
That's a selfish fan way to look at it, Ketch. That is a very selfish fan way to look at it.
I do not disagree, but I also like when it's an NFL team and I hear that a guy took the needle to get on the field, it makes him a legend.
Right. Makes him Ronnie Lott.
A little bit. And look, if you find out that Quinn Ewers is underappreciated by the Texas fan base, but let him do. When did Chris Sims finally get over for Texas fans? Chad? It was the K-State game with the dislocated finger.
Oh, I was trying to ask
myself.
It was
the moment when people were like, that's my quarterback.
Yeah, you're right. It's that.
Yes. They go on the road in Manhattan against a really good Kansas State team, not one of these fraudulent Kansas State teams. And he went over to the sideline and did like this, and they bent that finger back into place, came back out on the field, closed that victory out, and Texas fans finally embraced Chris Sims.
Mm-hmm.
If Quinn Ewers does that this weekend and carries them to a Big 12 title game, he'll get the same type of love that I think a lot of fans have withheld from him so far this season.
Coming up at 1:20, Jason Sukamel to talk recruiting. We do have discussions about JT Sanders and Xavier Worthy. We're going to try to get to at some point this week before Texas and TCU. We got the crap bag talking playoff, looking at TCU. And at about 2:20, we are going to hit the 10 and 10 or countdown or whatever we're going to be calling it. But we're going to see if we can have some fun with that again with the clock later on in the show. But right now it is time for a little buy or sell. You want to go first or second, Ketch?
I'll go first today. I did just want to say, Blake, I'm trying to send Sukamel a link to join, and it's not letting me cut and paste it. So can you try that for me in Slack and take that responsibility off my shoulders? Fantastic.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Buy or sell, number one, you agree with the notion that Oregon is playing better than Texas right now, but its resume should still have them behind the Longhorns in the current playoff rankings.
Yeah, buy. I mean, especially if you're going to give K-State the love and keep them in, then Texas has the impressive wins. They've got that win in Tuscaloosa, which should matter, and Oregon's full complement of opponents. I mean, you can't keep giving them. It's like if the most love you're going to give a team is the quality of their loss, then you should probably kick them down underneath a team like Texas. I'd put Texas above them.
But if Texas and Oregon played this weekend on a neutral field, what would you have as the point spread?
Neutral field, I'd say like Oregon by 6.5.
Okay. That's fascinating. We may have to circle back to that. If I wasn't one question into 5, we'd spend the next 30 minutes on that. Buy or sell, number 2, without Quinn Ewers in the lineup this weekend, you'd possibly pick Texas to lose to TCU. Not definitely, but possibly.
Oh, man,
you watched TCU and Tech, so
I did. I'm gonna sell after watching that TCU team. I'd love to make that argument, but there's a lot of okay going on there. I don't think there's a lot of really good going on there. I know they're at home. I get it, but I mean, I understand there's always a chance, but I would not. In the end, I don't think it would make me pick TCU. I'd pick Texas in a close game if it was Malik. So I'll sell.
Buy or sell, number 3. Jason Kelce. Kelce is being named one of People Magazine's nominees for Sexiest Man Alive. And you think Taylor Swift chose the wrong brother.
I'll sell, especially as a Cowboys fan. You wouldn't want to pick the Eagle over the Chief there. Plus, I think, I think Travis is a little more of Taylor's type of Kelce. I think Jason might be a little more out in the woods. Now, Taylor goes out in the woods to record. Jason Kelce goes out there for other stuff. So I'm going to say she made the right choice.
But shout out to People Magazine for representing the burly men out there with the gun.
That's good. That's good stuff. Well done, Jason.
Tell Jason Kelce he needs to go on a diet. Like right now, everything he's doing is turning up roses.
That's it.
All right. So look, let me update you on the situation before I ask you the question.
All right.
Liverpool soccer star player Luis Diaz, they're expecting terrorists to release his father. They've said today, which is the reason why I'm asking you the question, okay? Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, this guy is the biggest soccer star in Colombia. His parents got kidnapped. They were able to save his mom from the kidnappers, but the others got away with the father. And they've had the father for now over 2 weeks, okay? They think the terrorists are saying they will release him today. My question is this. He's on his way to Toulouse in France to play a match tomorrow.
Okay.
If your father were kidnapped, you would be back to work 2 weeks after it happened, even if he hadn't been released yet. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. This is just one of these things you've never thought of in your entire life, because why would you? But how long do you not do normal things if one of your parents is kidnapped?
Just to clarify, am I a soccer star in this discussion, or are you saying it's actually me, like now?
No, it's you. It's you in your daily life. Like, would you just be on a hiatus from the House Divided?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be a sell. My father has been kidnapped. I'm guessing that I'm not going to be thinking too much about work until we can figure that out.
What if it's like a year?
I still think it's still going to be important after a year, isn't it?
So you just would never, again, I don't know what the answer is. It's just the kind of thing that I was thinking about today is it's different for everybody. Would you tend to not want to work more if it was your mom instead of your dad? Like, okay, maybe 6 months for my dad, but 12 months for my mom. Like,
no,
I mean, to put like you don't have a favorite child, but you kind of do.
I would make it exactly the same, not only because both of my parents might be watching right now, but because I would make it the same. So do not try to draw me into that kind of madness, Jeff Ketchum. How dare you try to get me into trouble? I want Christmas presents from these people. What are you doing?
It is November. These are things you have to start thinking about.
Yes.
All right. And finally, buy or sell number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 8 major / largest streaming services,
okay,
Netflix, Max, otherwise known as HBO Max, Hulu, Prime, Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, Peacock, which I spell Peacock, and Paramount Plus.
Mm-hmm.
You have 5 or less of the major 8.
Sell.
How many do you have?
7.
What's the loner? What's the holdout?
Apple TV.
Wow.
It's the only one we don't have.
I'm slightly judging you because there's a couple of fantastic Apple TV Plus shows.
I'm sure there are, but at some point, you got to just stop. And I'm trying to. It's hard.
The shame that you felt like wash over your body.
Oh,
and I really thought for a second you were going to hit me with all 8. And I was like, Chad, you're as much of a TV degenerate as I am. But no, the household, we do have all 8.
I didn't hit them all. By the way, if you haven't checked it out, my wife and I watched the Milli Vanilli documentary on Paramount yesterday. It was fantastic.
The thing is, some of these services are getting me for sports.
Yep.
I don't think I would have Peacock or Paramount Plus without sports.
They got a lot of soccer content for you?
They do, and it means if I want to watch Champions League or Liverpool on the weekends, I have to have them. So, well done, Peacock and Paramount Plus. If you're wondering, do sports matter? They do, because otherwise, I think I'd have the other 6 and not you guys.
All right, Jason Sukumel coming up to talk some recruiting at 1:20. Thanks to over 330 folks in that Specs chat. We're right in the middle of buy or sell. Here's what the second half sounds like. Buy or sell, number 1, Ketch. The NBA has a doubleheader tonight. San Antonio at Madison Square Garden to face the Knicks. Then Golden State at Denver. You'll watch some of both.
Sell.
Okay.
If I get some prize picks on those games, maybe, but I have to be honest. Like, I think I told my kids I was taking them to the park after school today. Like, I'm going to be a good dad today. Mm-hmm. So in order to be the best dad that I can possibly be, I probably won't try to. Tonight might be one of those rare no sports nights for me.
Okay. Look at you being a good
maybe.
Dad. Well done.
I say that, and at 6 o'clock tonight, I'll be in bed, flipping around, watching some NBA. So, I say that, but like that's where my head is at this exact moment.
Fair enough. Buy or sell, number 2, back to the CFP. You'd tell the CFP to put Georgia at 1 and Texas ahead of Oregon.
Sell. At the end of the day, I have Oregon ranked ahead of Texas because I think Oregon would beat Texas if they play. I know Texas fans are going to cry uncle. I don't know that on a neutral field I would have it at 6.5, but I think Oregon has a quarterback advantage right now, even if Quinn Ewers is playing in the game. So I think Oregon's just a little bit better, even if their resume right now certainly doesn't say so.
All right. Buy or sell number 3 to the Longhorns specifically. Texas fans should root for Washington and Florida State to lose on Saturday. Full stop.
Well, buy. Yeah. Duh.
That'd be a big one.
Can't hurt.
That would be a big one. Yeah. How about this? Buy or sell number 4. Jonathan Brooks carries on Saturday. Over under 24 and a hook. You'll take the under.
I will take the under.
Yeah.
You just said 20. I probably would buy. Even then, I might sell. I'm not convinced that Brooks is getting 20 on the regular, especially since he doesn't get goal line, short yard. You know what I mean? Like,
right
on downs where the truly elite of the elite backs are kind of padding their stats, right? You're getting your short touchdowns. You're the go-to guy on a short yard in situation. They go away from Brooks so many times in those situations that it makes it hard for him to get to 20.
Yep. And finally, Ketch, buy or sell number 5. Tara Reid has a birthday today. Your favorite Tara Reid is the Van Wilder Tara Reid.
Buy. Yeah.
It's a nice Tara Reid.
It's a great Tara Reid.
Yeah. A little bit over American Pie. Maybe, right? A little bit above.
I think a full like step or two.
Mm-hmm.
She's
yeah.
Honestly, yeah, because it really does feel like the difference between college aged and high school aged, even if that wasn't true with regards to how their real ages would have been. Like, I don't know how old she was when she did American Pie, but I think of it as like a high school deal, whereas I think of Van Wilder as not just college, but like getting out of college. So she's like 22.
Yeah.
If you say American Pie, you're literally asking us to come over to your house and search your computer.
By the way, Tara is 48 years old today, so she's right at my age, a little younger than me since I'm about to turn 49.
That came out, American Pie came out in 99. I believe.
All right, so you go, but
so
20.
She would have been 23 when that came out.
That sounds about right. 23.
It's the Ralph Macchio Karate Kid, where it's like she's 37 but plays an 18-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. That is buy or sell. We do it every day in the 1 o'clock hour. We hope you're having.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We hope you're having a good Wednesday. Almost 340 folks in the Specs chat. Jason Sukumel's coming up to talk some recruiting with us here in just a couple minutes.
Let's do this. Let's give everybody a little 15-second Specs power shot while we wait for Mr. Sukumel. And then if he's not here by then, I have a bonus buy or sell question I want to sneak in.
All right.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right. We are back. He is just about ready to go. Talk a little recruiting because I've heard for a couple days that there might be some bad news for my Aggies in recruiting. I'm shocked by that because there really hasn't been any of that lately. Things have been going so well.
Well, we're not bringing in Jason Sukumel just to – I think I just figured out why I couldn't cut and paste the link to Sukumel.
Why is that?
My keyboard battery died, which makes it really hard for me to surf around and ignore you while I type other things.
Hard to key in when the keys don't work. Yeah.
Ma, the meatloaf.
That is tough.
Let's just bring him in.
Let's do it. Jason Sukumel, orangebloods.com. Check out all the great work there. He is at OB_Jason S on Twitter as well. And he's hopefully feeling a little better today. Jason, how we doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Getting back on the mend, trying to figure out my microphone here. But, yeah, I'm doing all right. Thanks, Chad.
Is that a Callahan's T-shirt?
You know it, Ketch. You know what that's from, right?
No.
Tommy Boy. Come on.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't. Wow.
Sandusky, Ohio.
Oh, it is. Callahan Auto Parts.
Hey,
nice.
Can I tell Ketch this is a true story, guys? Is my mic okay? I'm sorry, I just switched mics.
You're good.
You're good.
I one time, Ketch, a few weeks ago, we were doing the modcast, sometimes my mind wanders. I got a short attention span, and somehow I stumbled upon this $6 T-shirt website. So during the modcast, I ordered like 10 T-shirts, like Seinfeld ones, Tommy Boy. My favorite one says, "It feels so weird being the same age as all these old people," or something like that. But yeah, so just a little shopping
link to the $6 T-shirt.
Yeah, it's like $6tshirts.com or something like that.
You do look like a lobster.
Yeah, you know what? My camera, dude, I'm having issues with my audio in my camera, so I apologize. I mean,
he wasn't 6. He was in Maui for a week.
No, it's
is it that he looks like a lobster, or just the two of us are so white that by contrast he looks like a lobster? Like, is that?
I look like a fucking ghost right now.
You and I both with our white, because I got the white in the shirt, and it's not sheepskin. Everybody needs to stop getting that.
Doesn't look as red now. Whatever.
I changed my camera. I don't know. My settings are all off. I don't know what's going on.
Much better now. Much better. Beautiful.
If I could just
look as white as we do.
People want me to put probably like on a welder's mask or something might be preferable. Just anything to hide the face, man. Just get off.
You had like a farmer's tan going on there for a second.
Okay. All right. Well, I will stick with this camera for now.
All right, Ketch. I won't be selfish. Where do we start here on this recruiting discussion? Because I'm sure it's not just about my Aggies.
Well, look, maybe we just start where's your head at right now amongst, we find out yesterday that the offensive lineman, DeAndre Carter, the modern day offensive lineman, the other modern day offensive tackle that the Longhorns had brought in for an official visit and had tried to sway him from Auburn, kind of reconfirms his Auburn commitment last night. So previous to last night, maybe that's where, if I ask you, where's your head at today, that would have been, maybe it's still there. Like, what's the number one thought running around in your brain right now regarding recruiting?
Yeah, that was funny because we've been waiting on his decision for like 3 weeks, right? It was like, we know it's coming soon. I just don't know when. And he kept dragging it out, DeAndre Carter. And I did a Q&A that I posted on Orange Bloods yesterday. Well, I wrote it at about noon. And then I had to take my daughter to gymnastics last night. So I posted it from there. Well, the time that I'd left to take her to gymnastics and post it, he reaffirmed his commitment to Auburn. Well, I didn't see it when I posted, so my write-up still said, hey, we're still waiting on his decision. But, we had reported, we've been hearing for couple weeks, that DeAndre Carter still favored Auburn. His mom favored Auburn. His dad was maybe telling him to look at Texas. So I wasn't too surprised that he ended up sticking with Auburn. My head now, where's it at? Now we're just waiting on a guy like Kobe Black. It's weird. Like, Texas had back-to-back home games, right? And they had some guys come in, but it was mostly committed guys or underclassmen visitors that came in. They didn't have any official visitors. We were tentatively watching for a couple official visitors. None of those ended up coming to fruition. There's some guys Texas is trying to flip. Kobe Black is still out there. We can talk about him. But it's kind of, we're in a weird bit of a holding pattern, and Texas only has one more home game. Of course, Texas Tech Thanksgiving week. That's never a big recruiting weekend for Texas. So we're just kind of awaiting maybe some news from Kobe Black. We're maybe seeing if Texas can potentially flip a couple guys, but I don't think that's going to happen until December, if that does happen at all, because they really won't have a chance to get those guys to visit again till probably December, maybe even mid-December if Texas makes the Big 12 championship game. So lots of irons in the fire, Ketch, Chad, but not a lot of like just immediate action that we're sitting on right now.
It's interesting, Jason, that when you're talking about Carter, the idea that with the season they are having right now, that Auburn would still be as strong there, and especially for how far away the kid is. Give Texas fans a little insight here, because obviously they would love for Carter to ultimately, pick the Longhorns like his teammate did. But give us a little, and maybe it's a comparison contrast between him and it's Baker, right, that picked Texas.
Yeah.
Right. What is it about that, about the connection? You mentioned the mom like digs Auburn. Like, what is it that they dig about Auburn?
I don't know. It's funny because what I was told is the dad actually has the connections to either Auburn or the state of Alabama, but he was the one saying, hey, I think Texas might be a better opportunity for you, or at least consider it, right? He just kind of fell in love with Auburn early on. Now, DeAndre Carter is a guy, of course, from California. He traveled a ton in his recruitment. Okay, before he ever took official visits, this guy was at Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan and Auburn, and he came to Texas last summer, I think it was, for a junior day. I mean, you name it. Like for a major college, he probably visited there or visited most of them. So he did a lot of homework, but he just kind of fell in love with Auburn. You know, I never had him tell me exactly what it was. And I think his mom's comfort level, what I was told, is more that just he was comfortable with it. Hey, my son's comfortable there. That's where his heart seems to be, so I'm comfortable with it. It's an interesting choice. I mean, Auburn's not having a great year. Obviously, Texas is having a very good year. Texas is closer to home. Texas is stronger academically. He is an academically sound kid. There's a lot of things about Texas that make sense, the Pancake Factory, NIL opportunities. But I think at Auburn, there's one thing, you know, maybe at Texas, it might have been a tough go to get some early playing time. He probably sees an easier path there at Auburn, I believe, and I don't have their commitment list, but I believe they only have, maybe he might be the only one, or maybe there's one other offensive line commitment. They don't have very many. So he might see an easier path for playing time. But for whatever reason, all signs were pointing at Auburn long before he committed. That they were the longtime leader. He commits there and he ends up sticking there. You know, Brandon Baker, DeAndre Carter, they're bookend tackles at Mater Dei. Baker, the one coming to Texas, actually plays right tackle. Carter's the left tackle at Mater Dei. Carter is a much bigger frame guy. We'll see if he sticks at tackle at the next level. I mean, he's taller than most guards, but he's a big body. I'm not saying he's Cam Williams for Texas fans, but he's in that ballpark. He's just a big guy, where Brandon Baker's kind of a more leaner frame as a pure tackle, but both really good players. And, you know, Texas tried. They got him to think about it for a couple of weeks, but in the end, I think he just kind of went with where his gut was, and that was with Auburn.
Jason, it feels like we're even though signing day is 5 weeks away, starting to feel like 2025 is absorbing 2024 a little bit in terms of attention. What is that safe to say, or does the presence of like Kobe Black and a couple of these other guys still keep the full focus on 2020? Not full focus, but maybe just primary focus.
Hey, I wrote a story on a 8th grader recently. I can't even keep up. So, I mean, we're always looking like 3-4 years down the road, right? So, yeah, you know, there's still going to be obviously a ton of focus on 2024. I mean, we're coming to the end of that cycle, but December is going to be a wild month. You're going to have some guys flip their commitments either to Texas. Who knows? Maybe Texas has a couple guys take visits they're going to have to hang on to. But you're right, 2025 seems to be coming more into focus. And a lot of these recruiting visitors, like I said, for the BYU game, for the Kansas State game, were 2025s, 2026. I wrote a story on Javian Osborne, a really talented 2026 running back. It's funny you mentioned 2025 guys. I talked last night to a player named Emory Winston, who's a tight end out of Georgia, big-time prospect. He was at the Texas game last week. He has been to 2 Texas games this fall on his own dime, of course. He told me, hey, it's Texas, Ohio State, and Central Florida, I believe it was, or South Florida, one of those two. You know, I didn't remember it so much because I was like, okay, they're not really going to – it's Texas and Ohio State, let's be clear. But he's visiting Ohio State this week. He told me he's going to probably commit November 24th. This is a 2025 guy. So, yeah, we better keep one eye on 2025 because that'll be in the war room, by the way, tomorrow. But I think Texas right now is the team to beat for Emory Winston. Like, it's interesting. Like, for my 3-2-1 column, I'm already thinking for next week. That column I always do, Chad, I do 3 things we learned this week, 2 questions, and 1 prediction, 3, 2, 1. The prediction's always the hardest thing to write about. I'm like, damn, what can I predict this week? I'm going to predict next week, unless things change after he visits Ohio State, Emory Winston commits to Texas. And I think the next Texas commitment comes from 2025, maybe not even 2024. So it's a good question, Ketch. And we're certainly keeping an eye on 2025 guys as well.
Wow. All right, Jason, let's get to this possible bad news for my Aggies. They are in a wild spot right now, trying to figure out if 7-5 is enough to keep Jimbo and all of that. But they had put together a pretty good recruiting class, and then some things get a little shaky. So lay it out for us. Cam Coleman, the receiver, maybe taking a visit somewhere.
He
And
is, Chad. He's going to Florida State. Like, that's the thing. The Aggies got to hold on to him.
okay, so he is taking the visit to Florida State. Is that coming up
somewhere
Would
else?
that be this week for the Miami game?
No, I think it's in a couple of weeks.
Gotcha.
Did he visit somewhere else previously? Did he visit? I could have sworn he visited somewhere else previously too. So he's had a wandering eye for a bit. Yeah.
So if the Aggies were to lose Coleman, how big a loss is that from your
Big loss? He's a 4-star guy right now, but as his ranking stands, as they hand out more 5-star rankings, he will be a 5-star if he holds his current position. Big elite receiver. I mean, one of the, probably you could say, I'm looking at their commitment list, top player in their class. I mean, Terry Bussey would probably be in that conversation as well. But yeah, that'd be a big loss. I mean, Texas A&M's done a really good job, not just this year, but in the past years, recruiting out of state. And he's one of the biggest ones they've recruited from out of state. Now, that's the danger with recruiting out of state. Sometimes you got to recruit. I remember one coach telling me, like, anytime you take an out of state guy, you've got to recruit him as if he's uncommitted all the way till the end, because those guys can be tough to hang on to. And Cam Coleman certainly got a wandering eye right now. And if he peels off, along with, there's a few others that we're keeping an eye on in A&M's class as well. That would certainly be a big loss for Texas A&M.
Jason, anything on Terry Bussey? It feels like he's one of those guys that no matter is Arch Manning going to play this year version of high school football recruiting, even when there aren't, public signs that kid's really doing a whole lot with Texas. There's just constant questions about it. He's a borderline 5-star, maybe even an all the way 5-star, depending on how you view him. So I totally get it. And then Solomon Williams, kind of an interesting deal, a defensive, an edge player in the 2024 class from Tampa. I was a little surprised in reading. It's funny. I saw Adam Gorney's rumor mill stuff before you posted it today, and Texas A wasn't mentioned when I thought they might be mentioned. And then B, it was interesting that he got that kid to say on the record that after the last 2 weeks of losses for A&M, that he, quote, really made him evaluate A&M big time because he'd been a heavy A&M leader. So I don't know, two more little nuggets for Chad of guys that A&M certainly would be interested in. Kind of thought Texas would be a little bit more in it for Solomon Williams.
Yeah, let's kick Chad while they're down, right?
Yes.
But Terry Bussey, it's funny. Like I mentioned, I did my Q&A yesterday. I think I had 3 questions out of 20 on Terry Bussey, right? And then today I went to a Longhorn Lunch Bunch group, which I haven't seen those dudes in a couple months, but I went there today. First question, what's up with Terry Bussey?
That's why I had to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it. He's an awesome player and an exciting player. He can do a little bit of everything on the football field. Well, here's the deal. Bussey normally is pretty open and pretty outgoing. He's really tightened up his communication lately. In fact, I hit him up about a week and a half ago. Pretty simple question. Hey, Terry, is Texas still even working on you? Have they tried to back down a little bit? He didn't respond. To me, sometimes that's a bit of a red flag because a guy, he knows people are watching him and people are talking about him in Texas and him in LSU. He probably doesn't want to say on the record, yeah, Texas is still recruiting me pretty hard. So sometimes a no answer is a bit of an answer. But, I haven't heard anything really definitive there with Texas. I mean, obviously they're going to continue to recruit him. LSU is going to continue to recruit him. With Terry Bussey, man, I never got the impression that Texas was that strong of a player. Kind of a weird recruitment because he always liked Texas. But to me, Texas maybe misplayed that one a little bit. They were late offering him. He came into a game last year for a visit. So he's face-to-face with the coaches, met with the coaches. They sent him home without an offer. And to me, that just kind of put a bad taste in his mouth. And Terry's a nice enough kid. He's never going to say anything like that. But it couldn't have sat too well with him. And then finally they do end up offering him. And it just kind of put Texas behind the gun a little bit there. So, that's a guy we're going to continue to monitor, obviously. With things going on at A&M that Chad mentioned, their record and the rumors of Jimbo and who knows about coaching shakeups there, what might happen. All bets are off with what might happen with A&M's class. But right now, I think some of the Terry Bussey stuff is just speculation. I don't know that there's anything really dramatic in the works there with him in Texas. I think for Texas to get him, they'd need to get him back on campus. That would either have to be for the Texas Tech game or that weekend, but he'll probably be playing in the playoffs, or maybe they get him on campus in December. We'll see. Solomon Williams, I read Adam Gorney's write-up too. He didn't have a mention of Texas, which surprised me. I think that was a bit of a misstep personally on Gorney's part. Texas is certainly involved there. A&M was thought to be the substantial leader, right, coming about a month ago. But again, man, as these losses mount, the narratives change. And, A&M's fighting to hold on to its current class. I mean, are they going to be able to close on a guy like Solomon Williams? He visited Alabama last week. Alabama really wants him, so make no mistake. Now, they are recruiting other players similar to his position. They just offered a new one. So what does that say about Alabama's thinking with Solomon Williams? I'm not completely sure, but they offered a very similar player. I'll say this, and I'm choosing my words carefully here. I was texting with a source in Austin about Solomon because I don't have a great read on him. And nobody I've talked to has a great read on him. I've talked to Alabama reporters. I've talked to A&M reporters. None of their sources truly have a good feel. I asked the Texas source, and the Texas source was like, you tell me, dude, what do you think is going to happen with Solomon Williams? So to me, that tells me, A, they're certainly interested. They still want him because they're curious. But B, I don't think anybody truly knows. I mean, we're expecting a decision from Solomon Williams in the next 2-3 weeks, potentially. I think Texas is right there. I did talk to him. One of the few interviews he's done right after his Texas official visit. He raved about that visit, wants to be a pharmacist. Texas laid out their pharmacy school plan. That was a huge deal for him. So Texas has a lot to sell there. He's a big academic guy, but I just don't have a great feel. I guess I would still probably lean A&M because I haven't heard any differently. But, I mean, I don't think anybody truly knows what Solomon's going to do, maybe even Solomon himself.
Jason, maybe he is that guy. But as you're talking, I'm thinking about Malik Jefferson popped in my head. If I'm a Texas fan today, I'm thinking, okay, what's the ultimate Flipmas present? What's the thing? It's one thing. It's like turnovers in football. It's one thing to have a turnover. It's another to have a pick six or a scoop and score. It's one thing if they flip, but when they flip to you, it's a whole nother deal with like a Vosick or whatever. So is there a name in your head that come Christmas time, the Longhorn fans would be thrilled because a guy that was on the Aggies list picked burnt orange, and it makes the Aggies want to throw their tree out the window?
Well, that's what's the beauty of it, right? Anytime you flip a player, that's exciting. But if you're a Texas fan flipping from Oklahoma or Texas A&M, that's even – it's a double win. Like Vosick last year you mentioned, I kind of said, hey, isn't it almost better as a Texas fan, the fact that he – A, ends up in your class, but B, commits to Oklahoma, so you get to kind of stick it to them. And when he flips to you, right, that almost worked out better for Texas. Yeah. There's a few guys on the – I mean, Bussey would probably be the
it had to be the non-Terry Bussey conversation.
Okay. Well, then if we're going non-Terry Bussey, I'd probably say Dominic McKinley just because Texas needs another defensive lineman or maybe a couple of them even, but they desperately want another interior defensive lineman. Dominic McKinley is an elite player. A&M has recruited that position exceptionally well over the past few years. Texas is trying to get to that level in recruiting interior defensive linemen. So I would, if we're not going with Bussey, I mean, Bussey would be the exciting one, but I would probably say Dominic McKinley. And there have been reports and talks about him visiting Texas and this, that, and the other. And I mean, again, I think some of this stuff right now is people just reading the tea leaves and like, okay, A&M's not having a great season. There's talk of Jimbo. It's a pretty safe assumption that it's like sharks drawn to blood, right? Texas and LSU and other schools are going to be recruiting some of A&M's top targets. Well, McKinley, I'll say this, in talking to people close to him, he's been invited to basically every single Texas home game this year. So it's not as if this is new that Texas is continuing to recruit him. Is he going to show up? He hasn't so far. I doubt he shows up for the Texas Tech game, but might he visit in December? We'll see. I'm not expecting that at this point, but again, it's one of many potential flip opportunities that we're keeping an eye on.
I would also nominate, and this would be completely out of left field just because Texas hasn't really been on this kid at all, but if they got Dylan Evans, the kid from Longview Pine Tree,
Not happening.
Oh, I know. But if you were to say pick one that would be a good, Merry Flipmas present.
He's got a burr in his saddle about Texas because they didn't recruit him too aggressively very early or whatever.
I know. I'm just saying, if I'm looking at their commitment list, and it's like, okay,
hey,
well.
Like I said it, like if I'm a Texas coach, I'm probably throwing lines in the water to all, Blake Ivy, the offensive lineman. I mean, Cam Coleman. Why not, dude?
It might have been Weston Davis before he flipped to LSU.
Yeah. I mean, Weston Davis, they almost got him on campus, but I'd go down the list. Miles Turner, we haven't even talked about. He's a safety for A&M. If Texas really pushes there, I think they've got a really good shot. Now, Miles, I need to follow up with him. He, last time I talked to him, was going to be in town for the Texas Tech game later this month. So we'll see if that still happens. But he's another guy worth mentioning that, if Texas really wants to push, he might be the most likely candidate to flip.
All right.
Well, I'm good. I've squeezed everything. I've squeezed that turnip dry.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Chad?
I have no more questions that could cause me and my folks sadness. No, I'm good.
You're okay for the rest of the week, right? You've had your recruiting fill.
Yeah, I was going to say my only other question would be, so Jason, what chance do you think the Aggies have in Baton Rouge? But that's a whole nother discussion for another day.
I feel bad, Jason, because we'll be in Slack and something bad will happen to A&M.
Oh,
and I always kind of forget that Chad's lurking nearby to see us like giggle at A&M's misfortunes.
Y'all should.
Who was? Well,
y'all.
Yeah, I said Chad is like, I have a buddy, like one of my best buds is an Aggie, but he's pretty objective. I mean, Chad's like a four-leaf clover that's so rare. He's like an objective Aggie, so I think Chad's okay with it. Chad rolls with the punches. He knows we're going to goof on him.
He's okay with it.
I appreciate that, Jason. I was going to say, if y'all probably need like a whole separate Slack channel that just is labeled like not Chad.
That's not a bad idea.
Recruiting discussion, yes.
Chad, stay out. Yeah, that's right.
But then he wouldn't be able to help himself. He'd see that channel had new messages in it. Yeah. And would just stare at it like.
We'll start typing in Pig Latin or something to throw them off.
I am an Aggie in search of the truth, and that is not the case for all Aggies. So I will admit that.
I saw Blake's comment. That thing's been disconnected for like 2 months now. I don't know why I still have it on my desk. At this point, it's just a talking point, so I'm going to keep it there forever, I think, at this point.
You hang on, Jason. I still have a landline, too. Don't let him make fun of you.
No, I cut mine off. I've got the phone. I just don't have a working landline anymore. So.
I think that's even worse. I like that you just have the relic just sitting there. That's great.
Like a newspaper and a radio. Yeah. Okay, guys. Jason, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you on Slack. See you back online.
Thanks, Jason.
Managing editor, star, Tommy Boy T-shirt wearer. Mm-hmm. I wanted the T-shirt once I realized it was literally from Tommy Boy.
That's pretty fantastic. I saw a little bit of that movie the other day. Always makes me smile. Anytime I see Spade and Farley together.
I was on a date once with a girl that I'd been total smoke show. Mm-hmm. I've been trying, efforting, positioning, elbowing my way in to get like a date.
Yeah.
Took this girl out on a date. We were downtown. It was when I was like really young, like early college years. And this guy said in front of us that I look like Chris Farley and Tommy Boy. And it just didn't feel like a compliment at all. And I think the only thing that kept me from getting into a fight that night was you can't fight in front of a date.
Right. Now, do you think it affected her? Did she hear the
Yes, I don't think it helped.
Okay, I was going to say that would be my concern, that the comparison would have stuck in her brain even if it wasn't there, and that probably didn't help you. Unless she was
funny. As much as everybody loves that movie, I don't know that women go around saying, you know who I want to make out with? Tommy Boy.
Right, exactly. Like that's
that's what I was like, you're killing me, Smalls.
That's rough. Yeah, it's rough. That's not going to end well. That's not going to end well. Coming up at 2, we'll get the crap bag, take a look at what the expanded 12-team playoff would look like and what Texas would be looking at. And took a look at the TCU team. The numbers lead you in one direction, but then you get there and there's really nothing there. So we'll get into what TCU is going into this matchup. I did sit through TCU and Texas Tech. For you, the people, that's the only reason. It was not for the score it ended up being. It really wasn't that fun of a game to watch, but we'll get to that in the 2 o'clock hour. And then we will get to the countdown or the shot clock or whatever it is. Rapid fire. We're trying to figure out what to call it when the clock rolls, but we'll do that at like 2:20 or something.
Yes, Sam, man. Positioning. You're working on your post-up game.
Positioning. Right. Block out.
Exactly. By the way, Benji, I did not blame anybody for a failed date, although to be fair, it was a failed date. Sometimes an excuse is just the reason why something happens.
Yeah, exactly. But it's another good example of it's just so rare at the beginning of any relationship like that or dating where even if she tells you she really loves a guy with a sense of humor, that's not the top of her list. So
yeah, no, if I was like if you and Wendy had been going out on a first date and somebody walks by and is like, you look like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. Oh, thanks. No, Hanks is great. Appreciate it.
Actually, when we were sitting in that restaurant in Nacogdoches, somebody walked by and said, "Damn, that dude blinks a lot." Right there? Look at that guy. Are you counting? By the way, thank you to the chatters who are now counting. We've had multiple chatters counting my blinking per minute. Apparently, I'm above average. I've hit a 27 and a 29 like in the last day. Weirdos.
Blinko. That's what we call that game.
Blinko. Somebody said something about in a blink or blink of an eye or something like that. Should we incorporate like blinky bingo? You said Blinko. So you want to go Blinko? That's it. Blinko. That's it.
Blinko.
I'm writing it down.
Is like stealing Plinko.
Right.
But we've bastardized it with your blinking and turned it into something that's ours.
Bam. So as of now, we'll go with Blinko. That's coming up at the end of the show or towards the end of the show today. We have 12 minutes or so until the crap bag. Jeff Ketchum, is there anything you'd like to discuss, get into, get off your chest, admit?
I'm taking some hits in the chat. Guys, all I said was that a guy once said on a date that I was on that I looked like Tommy Boy and Chris Farley and Tommy Boy. I didn't blame that guy for anything. All I said was he and I almost got into a fight.
Yeah, and it might not have helped the rest of your date. In fact, you believe it did.
He was the reason. Look, I was on a date in the first place. So, like, I had a bat in my hand. I was at the plate, right? I mean,
it's just not one of again, it's not a start. Like, if God forbid, if something occurred and I was single and I'm sitting there and right before I'm like, I'm trying to tell this person who I am and all that stuff, and somebody walks by and's like, "Oh my God, Chad, I love the show. Do Scottish guy talking to Lou Holtz and Eric Cartman." And if I actually do it, the chances of that helping me are low.
Eric Cartman gets me every time.
Right? Like, there's no way. Plus, I don't know would you want to even hang with a woman that's that sick, right? Like, what gets you going?
I would.
Eric Cartman, like, is that what you want? Hey, baby. No, it's like, no, I think
what would you do? Come on. Like, a really hot woman would let you make love to her, but only if you talk to her as Cartman during the deed.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you could think of there is sweet. Yeah. All right. Anyway, not sure how we ended up into that realm. There you go. You know what, guys? Be yourself. Guys, girls, just be yourself on the first date. Just give it a shot. Just try. Last thing you want to do is start lying to people. So just do what you do.
I just want to say for the record, I do think I just would want to hang out with that person.
Just hang with the person who's into Cartman?
Well, I think I think it would be like if you were like, hey, let's invite Sharon over, hang out. She can watch some football and like just hang out. And you're like, you want to hang out with Sharon? And she's like, oh yeah, she's the type of person that likes men to talk like Cartman when making love. I love her. She's a riot.
There's all kinds. What's that Miranda Lambert song? All kinds of kinds. There's all kinds of kinds out there. JDH just got here. Busy day. I thought Ketch was wearing a robe. And really, is Chad wearing a sweater vest? I am not. It's a shirt with the camo sleeves and collar. It's a golf shirt. Golf shirt. That's what it is.
Am I in a robe? I was like, oh, hey there.
I think that's
shirt. Sorry.
That's what made him think of robe, because you'll show a little,
I'll leave it a little open. Well, I don't like it all tight. Like,
no, you like the comfortable, the casual
well,
V
the thing
look.
is, I'm not a hairy man. So it's not like you get the fur coat.
Right.
The shirt.
You're not giving us the Tom Selleck.
Or worse.
Right.
Like Tom Selleck's dad.
Yeah. For the record, I'm not giving the Tom Selleck on any level. Like, there's no level where they've ever said, that Chad. Tom
if somebody
Selleck.
came up to you and was like, Chad, just so you know, you're on a date, first date. You look like Higgins from Magnum PI. Like, that's not ever going to help.
Without a mustache, there's no way I'm Higgins. There's no way. No way.
But if somebody came up and said, you know what, I've always wanted to let you know you look like TC from Magnum PI. Well, then that's different.
That's a little different. Yeah. Yeah, that would be different.
All right.
I'd question how much that person had been drinking at that point, but that's a whole other issue. All right, so we are rolling up on the crap bag. Ketch, while we're doing that, why don't you help the people out? Because the people, wait a minute, it might be the most hideous shirt I've ever. How dare you, Rex? How dare you? Ketch's shirt is not that bad.
I know. Why are you picking on me? Come on.
Stop picking on Ketch's shirt. It's not that bad.
It is very Trestle-like.
Like
if
Jim
Trestle had a Louisiana swamp play cousin.
This is the one? Yeah, right. It is like for me, considering that, rest in peace, Matthew Perry, it's like Chandler Bing on a hunting trip is sort of,
I like it.
Kind of the vibe. All right, Ketch, let's do how about a little My Perfect Franchise here before we get to the crap bag and other things.
Oh, man, the best parts of the show. Believe it or not, guys, we haven't even got to the best part of the show.
That's right.
By the way, in my, what are we calling it, Blinko?
Mm-hmm.
One of my Blinkos, I get mad at a sandwich. So
Nice.
You don't want to miss that.
Okay.
Let me tell you about My Perfect Franchise. Look, the thing is, like, Andy Ledke hit there. He's a good dude. Alex loves the guy. Like, Andy is Alex's one of his favorite human beings on earth. So let's just start with the fact that dude that you see in the picture right there, awesome human being, great guy. What he does is take average, ordinary people who just want their lives to change, who are tired of the Monday 9 to 5, getting in car, waiting in traffic all day long, working for the man, getting beaten down for the man. What he wants to help you do and what he can help you do. Start your own new life, fresh start an LLC, take the job idea that you've always wanted to make work for yourself, actually work for yourself. He makes dreams come true. Maybe he can make yours come true. Contact Andy. You can either go Andy@myperfectfranchise.net. It's all right there. Like, there's not a barcode, but there's literally print that lays out email address and phone number. And if you can't figure that out, maybe you don't need to run your own business. MyPerfectFranchise.net. I felt like I really sold that all the way to the end, where I just called people stupid if they can't figure out a phone number and an email address.
Very good. I think you helped a ton. Helped a ton. Apparently, this discussion's going on the chat. Mark says Chad looks like Lou Holtz. How dare you? Thank you very much. Excellent. That's good.
I can't even keep up with the chat right now.
Charlie Sheen from 2.5 Men. I definitely don't look like that. That's
2.5 Sheep.
That's another. Damn. Well done. Dill Pickle says Chad looks like the kid from Stuart Little grown up. I don't know that reference. There he is. There he is. No, let me tell you
shave that kid's head and let's see where we stand.
Let me tell you what. I'm going to say with all confidence, I don't know that kid, never seen the movie. I'm going to say when that kid grew up, that kid looks better than me right now. I'm just saying. Just
like a male model.
Saying. We got a little super chat.
By the way.
Mm-hmm. Texas
boy. How much money I need before I call Andy? I don't know. Like, that's a question you need to ask Andy.
Yeah.
If you're like, well, what I want to start is a cement company. I don't have any idea how much money. Andy will have to help you with that.
There you go.
If it's like, I want to have my own chocolate factory and it be the Texas Boy Chocolate Factory, different price points, different things needed at that point.
Yep. Anthony went to one of the 3 that I've had throughout my life most consistently. Rick Carlisle, that's right, coach of the world champion Dallas Mavericks in 2011. I have been told that I'd look like the coach. Thank you, Anthony.
The thing is, wouldn't you be kind of successful if you lived in the Dallas area and were single? I feel like the Rick Carlisle look could get you some places.
Maybe. Until they met me and realized that I'm 5'10".
Well,
that's not going to help me at that point.
It's like, hey, you know what? Every once in a while, I will censor myself. One of those moments just happened.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. By the way, Ketch, the other night when I met, there it is. There's the other one. Yeah, John Kitna. We always get the John Kitna love. That's it.
You just wore your own jersey and rocked it around Dallas? Yeah. You got a chance.
He's got the great hairstyle.
Hey, are you John? Well, it says so on the back of your – okay, John Kitna.
Probably is. The other night when I met South End Zone Queen for the first time, she said, it's good to meet the rest of you. She just like had only, this is all she normally gets. She's like, oh, it's great to see that, you have legs and all that. It's like, thank you. I do.
Great legs at that, so I'm told. I've never looked at your legs.
All right,
so I've been around you a million times, but I've never looked at your legs.
Is that right?
I hear great things.
The calves are really the only thing I have. That's about all I have. They're holding up fairly well.
You're like, baby, they may call me Tommy Boy up top, but they call me Rafa from the calf down.
That's right. They say I've got the Phil Mickelson calves. That's what they tell me. All right. So we're almost to that 2:00 spot here. We still have not, Ketch, gotten into the Jatavian Sanders discussion. We do need to just sort of generally this week throw out the question of where has Zero gone, what has happened, and we hope that Jatavian Sanders will be on the way back to relevancy at some point, because it is wild when you look at some of the numbers, the comparisons of what's going on with him. Hopefully, if Quinn Ewers is able to go, that's great news for Zero Saturday night.
Well, look, in the first 4 games this season, he was targeted more than 6 times in a game, 3 of the first 4 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting him the ball. And he was on his way. At that early in the season, he was playing better than Brock Bowers. Now, Brock Bowers started balling out before his season-ending injury, but there was a spell, like first 25. I remember PFF had him ranked as the number 1 tight end in the country for the first 25% of the season. In the last 5 games, he hasn't been targeted 6 times in a single game ever.
Man.
So he went from 3 of the first 4 games, at least 6 targets, 3 of the 4 games. In the last 5, he has not seen 6 targets in a game. In fact, he's only seen 5 targets once, and he's only seen 4 targets twice. In the 5 games, the last 5 games of this season, he's caught 10 passes for 120 yards and 0 touchdowns. Somehow in the last 5 games, Savion Red has replaced him in the importance in the offense. That's not me taking a shot or anything. That's just me literally pointing out the Longhorns have been going out of their way to get Savion Red involved in the game, biggest situations in the game, get him in. He's the guy. Sanders is the forgotten guy in the offense right now. And it's not just a Quinn Ewers thing, although, yes, he would certainly like to have his quarterback back. And it's not just a knee injury thing, because I've talked to people who've said in the last couple of weeks, he's as close to like 100% as he's probably going to get. You know, he hasn't really missed any time. You know, you go back to the Houston game was when there were questions about whether or not he would play or not. And he's been playing. He is a guy that, to me, they can't win the national championship without that guy being a star piece. And Chad, he's honestly played his role in the offense right now has me wondering, will he go pro after this season? In the end, has Ja'Tavion Sanders had the type of season, specifically because of the last 5 games, that really could serve as a springboard to an NFL, high stock? Or is a guy that we assumed would be pro after this season, maybe he has to think about it a little bit more because he's been such an afterthought on the field?
Yeah, there's a couple things that stood out to me as I looked at numbers. So the last 3 months, September, 13 catches, October, 7, November, 2. Now, I know November's only 1 game, but still. And he's sitting at 22 catches. Jarrett Wiley has more catches than he does.
Oh, Jarrett Wiley's having a better season.
Jarrett Wiley's got 4 more catches than Sanders. I did not expect that. Savion Williams, the 3rd leading receiver for TCU, has 3 more catches than Ja'Tavion Sanders does. Now, here's the other thing. Texas does have Worthy with 49 catches and Mitchell with 37. Could this also be as simple catch as maybe kind of a 2-part thing? A, the quarterback situation, young quarterback. Now, Malik's found him a couple times, but that's a factor. And then also just the fact that Adonai Mitchell's playing as well as he's playing, and it feels like those targets are going to him. I know that's a receiver over a tight end, but still, it really feels like they trust Mitchell a lot more, to the tune of 15 more catches.
I mean, I think it's a lot of things added up. It is he was injured. He has had a quarterback issue in the last few weeks. Adonai Mitchell has been playing better ball, although there certainly have been games when both of those guys weren't major pieces of the offense. And, Mitchell wasn't a big piece, but neither was Sanders. Ultimately, the bottom line is the only thing it's not the why. It's just the fact that it exists the way that it exists. He is not having let's put it like this. He's not having an All-America season. 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, it looked like that's what he was on the way towards. He's not right now. That's not what he's been, who he's been. I think he's probably a guy that still goes pro after the season is over. But, whereas I didn't have any doubts about that whatsoever, I kind of do now. Just like 6 weeks ago, I didn't have any doubts whatsoever that he was going to, by the end of this season, 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, he was on pace to break the Texas tight ends record for a career in both yards and receptions. Mm-hmm. He was going to get that done before the season was over, and then he would be able to go pro on the back end of whatever the team does. Plus, he basically owns every tight end record at the University of Texas. I don't think he's getting there now. I think he might have to come back for another year to get those things. And I wonder if he wants to get the NFL draft grade that he wants. Maybe he'll have to do the same as well.
So how long's Brock Bowers been out? 3 games? 3 or 4?
Like that, yeah.
If there's no way I would have thought that Sanders is still 19 catches back of him. It's 41-22 in catches right now. You'd think that means Bowers. Now, if Bowers had been playing, we know his number would be even better. But the fact that it's that different it's just crazy. So hopefully Sanders will again benefit from that. Benefit from Quinn Ewers coming back if he does. But yeah, it's been a weird season. Now, Ketch, to your Savion Red point, at least on the fourth down play, the plan was to throw it to Sanders. It didn't work, but at least the idea was to throw it to Sanders.
That's a start.
Yeah, he threw it to him against OU, right?
They aren't playing their best brand of offense right now and haven't for weeks. Maybe one of the answers to getting this offense back to a really high level is to take advantage of the fact that you have a weapon that most offenses in college football don't really have. I'm no OC. I'm not Steve Sarkisian. Just a thought. All right, Look, it's crap bag time. I have a question.
Okay.
Can you start crap bag and give me like 30 seconds? Like I need like 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Not a problem. Not a problem. All right. So we are over that 2:00 hour mark, and we can get a little crap bag going. Actually, as we get crap bag going, why don't we use this opportunity to make me and maybe everybody else hungry? Blake, let's show them the pork chop. Hey, City Store. There it is. Look at that bad boy. It is a fine pork chop. My wife is not lying to y'all when she says it's the best pork chop she's ever had. That's the grilled version. You can do it blackened. That'll be my next trip. And you can do it chicken fried. That'll be the trip after that. I went with their incredible mac and cheese. And that corn you see, I'll admit, I'm a cream corn freak. I do love it. I was raised on it. And that's their jalapeno cream corn. And man, when it's done right, I love me some cream corn. And they do it beautifully. And that's some of the famous gravy right there on the right side. So, Hey City Store, that is your QR code. You're out in Driftwood, FM 150, just an awesome environment. The ice house area is great. No matter what the temperature, they've got the flaps they can pull down, and they've got heaters if it gets cool. They can pull those flaps up. They've got the fans going if it gets hot. They're ready for you no matter what the weather does, and they're always ready with the menu. In fact, I told you about the bourbon milkshake last time I was out there. That's the next dessert I'm going to try. If you are into tequila, they have their own specific Herradura tequila made especially for them that you can go out there and have at Hayes City. Just incredible stuff. Ketch got to try it in the last week. You should go try it as well. If you haven't been out there in a while, get back out there. If you've never been, it's a great idea. Driftwood, FM 150. They got all kinds of cool daily drink specials, including $4 off Mexican martinis. Hayes City Store, Texas on Facebook. They're always throwing up beautiful pictures like the one I just showed you. Get on out there, Hayes City Store. And we definitely appreciate their support of House Divided and Orange Bloods Live. Thanks to all of you as well. The subscriber number continuing to grow, 17.4, I think is the last one I saw. Mr.
Yes.
Ketchum, you got an updated subscriber number for
Not
us?
right in front of me because
Okay.
I had to reset my computer, and then for some reason, sorry. I thought I might have had no, I don't.
Okay. So I think it was 17.4 last time I saw it. We appreciate all of you. Get your notifications, get your likes, subscribe, get that taken care of. Tonight we've got a What Are You Drinking Wednesday edition of the Outsiders with more talk on Texas and TCU coming up. Football with Friends comes up at 3:30 with Alex Dunlap. We thank you for supporting Orange Bloods Live. So every day, about 2:00 or so, we jump on into the crap bag, whatever's rolling around my head that day. We'll get to TCU, but I always like to give you a little peek into a couple things, and we have turnover twos. What's that?
Nothing. Go ahead. Give us a little peek into a few things.
Yeah, I like to give you a peek. Nothing out of control, but occasionally, let's take a peek at what the expanded playoff would be like. We're headed there next year. I'm hearing more and more people start to talk about what the expanded playoff would look like. Here's your update. Texas would host Penn State, and I think that stayed the same this week. Texas, Oregon, Bama, and Washington would get games that they would host. And again, I'm going off of the current top 12. I know some have laid this out where they're saying, well, Ohio State and Michigan are going to play, so only conference champions are going to be in that top 4. Eventually, that's true. But right now, here's what it looks like. And the big thing I always look for is who's that 12-ranked team. That's Oregon State right now. You see them at the bottom. I put Tulane in at the number 12 seed because that's probably what the committee's going to end up doing once we get there next year. So remember that G5 is going to factor in. But come on, man. Texas and Oregon and Bama in a rematch with Ole Miss with a trip to the quarterfinals up for grabs. It's going to be so much fun when we get to it next year. And like
what do you think about a Penn State-Texas game?
I really like that matchup for Texas. I would really like that matchup for Texas. Penn State is the right amount of clunky, and they're coming to Austin. The pressure that Texas could get on Aller, I think Texas will be fine in that game. How about you?
Same. I think Texas might be a 7-point favorite over Penn State. So I think we may get to I don't know what Ole Miss is. So I don't know if they belong in the Texas, Alabama, Oregon discussion or if they are a tier below as a one-loss team.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's a drop-off at some point at 9 or 10. And I don't know. I don't think Penn State belongs in, and I don't know what I think about Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And I feel like the other teams are different.
Ole Miss at Georgia, 6 o'clock ESPN this week. I'm kind of with you. The fact that Ole Miss played that kind of game with A&M tells me a little bit about kind of what you're speaking to, right? If you're going to play a 38-35 fight to the end type of game with this Aggie group, I'm not going to quite think you're ready for like a truly national discussion.
Yeah.
But they can prove me wrong, right? They can prove us both wrong if they go to Athens and put up a big fight or, hell, win the thing, and then you really got something. But there's still a little flightiness to that team. They're more real, I think, than they have been, but they're not quite all the way there yet for me. I don't know if I can absolutely trust them. I think you're right. Now, Ketch, in terms of the TCU matchup, I started looking at TCU numbers. First off, just best news of the week for Texas fans. You know, when you were younger, if you're at the dance, right, and the pretty girls are trying to figure out if they want to dance with you or if they want to dance with some of these other guys, deep down, it might help you if you're standing next to an ugly guy because then you look better standing next to the ugly guy. Ketch, the Longhorns are 98th in the country in red zone offense. But guess what? TCU's even worse. They're 124th.
Wow.
124th. So if you love well thought out play calls that work inside the 20, you're going to need a different game at 6:30 on Saturday night because the Longhorns and the Frogs are not your teams for that. But good news, Texas, this may be a team that pukes on its shoes more dramatically than you do inside the 20. So that's your good news at the beginning. The other side of that good news is why Texas should be good in the matchup in the red zone on defense. On defense, Texas is 2 in red zone defense in the country and 2 in third down percentage defense. Texas is only allowing 26% catch on third down. 26. It's an incredible number. The Texas defensive front and defense overall should be a huge part of this game. But this is the other part that jumped out to me. Ketch, would it surprise you to know that TCU is the 16th best passing offense in the country?
Yes, that would shock me.
16. Shocked me too. Total offense, 16. Passing offense, 16. So I started thinking, well, maybe I need to dig into these numbers more. Maybe I need to really take a look. Right? Like, what is going on here? But then, Ketch, I get into it. I can't find a receiver or a tight end that's really nationally relevant at all in really any kind of number that I could say, aha, that's it. Like Amani Bailey, the running back, 27th all-purpose in all-purpose yards, and he's 48th in yards per carry. But the quarterback, now I understand it's a replacement quarterback, but Chandler Morris isn't big time in terms of numbers. Neither is Hoover. I think, Ketch, this is just a product of who their offensive coordinator is. Let's remind everybody, who's the TCU offensive coordinator? Do you remember? It's been a little while. OC for TCU?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking to them.
I'm talking to you. Do you remember who it is?
The DC for TCU?
The OC, who's calling plays.
It was the guy that Texas tried to hire, but it's not anymore, right?
I don't believe so unless they tried to hire Kendall Briles.
Oh, I'd forgotten Kendall was the OC.
Yeah, I think it's just a product of that. It's a Briles offense, which I think the numbers might be a little inflated there, but I'm not seeing a ton that I think could put Texas in a lot of danger, Ketch. But let's be real about what we've seen. The Texas back end of the defense, I think it has been suspect at times, and they are the 94th best pass defense in the country. Texas, Longhorn fans, that's your defense. 94th against the pass. TCU comes in at 16. I think that's something you got to respect. But, Ketch, the ultimate thing I would have here for Texas fans after watching TCU and Texas Tech, if the Texas defensive front can't win that battle in both of those games, we got bigger problems to deal with when it comes to Texas. I was not impressed with either TCU or Tech's ability to block on the offensive line. Texas the D line should be great this week. I'm specifically looking at a guy like Sweat to mess with everything TCU wants to do. They have got to mess that part of it up. Then I think they'll be okay in that pass game. But that 94 against the pass, that's not a good number.
You ever see that movie Little Nicky?
Little Nicky with Adam Sandler?
Yes.
No, that's on the list of Sandler movies I have not seen. I haven't seen Little Nicky. I haven't seen Mr. Deeds. I haven't seen I haven't seen, like, those are two that pop up, but no, I haven't seen it.
So Little Nicky is one of the most demented, it's not a good movie, but it is so far out there that it's kind of good.
Is that a movie where he's the devil or the son of the devil? Or
Correct.
Okay.
One of the scenes in Little Nicky, which my favorite scene is, there's a talking dog in the movie, but the dog's from hell. So when the dog is sleeping at night, it's like singing out a lullaby, but it's like it's very creepy. It's like, Anyway, I don't know why I told that part of the story. Inside the movie, Hitler is in hell.
Okay.
And they make Hitler wear a maid's outfit. And then every day in hell, they make Hitler bend over and they shove a pineapple up the backside.
Gotcha.
I just feel like that's what's awaiting Kendall and Art Briles one day. That's all.
Wow. That was an interesting path to get you to the. Okay. I'm glad I mentioned him now. Well done. Well done. That was very, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. And then real quick, Ketch, did you get the update? You mentioned a little bit of it, but I've now read through the update of this other Michigan story where Michigan is accusing teams of stuff. So
I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the fact that apparently the people in the Specs chat would exactly be the kind of people that dig Little Nicky.
Maybe. Yeah. That's just not one I've seen. Do I need to watch it?
Yes.
Okay.
Trust me, you've not seen this Adam Sandler movie. And I don't know that I even mean that in a good way. I mean, it is so demented, but there are probably about at least 10 little moments in the movie that will legitimately make you chuckle or laugh out loud.
Gotcha. So yeah, the updated argument, if you will, from Michigan is they're telling the Big Ten, hey, we've discovered that 3 teams were getting our signals last year during the season. And the Big Ten may respond with, what do you mean they were getting your signals? We mean that after they played us, they were sharing the signals with each other. And the Big Ten is saying, well, okay, like we'll file it away and, but so I mean, I'm assuming that's going to be the response. They played Purdue in the Big Ten title game, which God help us that that's true. But apparently Ohio State, Purdue, and who's the other team? Oh, Rutgers. Those are the three that are involved here, Ketch. That by the end of the year, like happens all over the place, somebody reached out to Purdue. Ohio State and Rutgers both reached out to Purdue and said, by the way, do you need any info on Michigan?
We will
right?
tell you everything that you want to know to beat those bastards.
Yeah, we'll tell you stuff. We do this all the time when we're talking about like Texas is going through a year. Let's look at it this way. When Texas gets to, if they get there, the Big 12 championship game, do you think Steve Sarkisian might talk to a coach whose team played Oklahoma State? I can almost guarantee you he will. But that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Legal. That's right, legal. You're allowed to do that because there's no rule against that. Yeah, that's the update. There's your update on Michigan and Harbaugh and all that. They're not going to do anything. They're going to do nothing in this situation. I wish they would, but they won't. They're not going to do it.
Michigan, was that a confession or what exactly is the relevance of what you're trying to tell us?
Yeah, really a weird, just a strange version of everybody's doing it. Just a weird way to argue that everybody's doing it. All right, there's your crap bag. That is every day about 2 o'clock. At some point in the show, we are going to get into what today we are calling Blinko, which is the clock will be running and we end up with 10 different discussions in 10 minutes. Low-key banger movie.
I'm telling you.
Come on now. Banger? Really?
Ask me how many times I've seen Little Nicky.
How many times have you watched Little Nicky stem to stern?
10 times.
Oh, God. Really? All the way through?
I mean, yeah, it came out like 30 years ago.
That is disturbing. All right, I'll check it out.
But here's the thing. The attractiveness for me to the movie is how disturbing the movie is.
Okay. And you know me, I'm up for some disturbing. Like, I don't
mind. The movie goes
mind
out of its way to be as disturbingly as it can be and still be like a rated R movie. All
right. Let me ask you about a movie that it's sort of an Adam Sandler movie, but not really, because technically he's not in this, but you'll know where I'm going. Is Little Nicky better or worse than Grandma's Boy?
It's not better than Grandma's Boy, but it's a hell of a lot more disturbing. Okay. Boy, I've seen Grandma's Boy 100 times. Wow. There was a moment from 2010-ish that was on like every other day. Right. I love Grandma's Boy.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
But all of the guys in Grandma's Boy are in Little Nicky.
See, that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming a lot of those guys find their way into this movie because they all kind of hang with Sandler.
And they play
some weird stuff.
Yes.
All right. Fair enough. All right, Ketch, you ready? Are you ready for Blinko? Do we need a break before Blinko? What do you want to do?
Look, I'm good because I went and got the water from Chick-fil-A that I got earlier. So I've been able to, I'm ready. I've been able to get all the senses wet and tingly and ready to go.
All right. So who's first? You want to go? You want to start this off or you want me to start it off?
Let's remind everybody how this works.
Okay.
Chad's got 5 topics. He's got 30 seconds to deliver each of those topics. Then I have 30 seconds. We're going to go back and forth. We each have 5 topics. And we each get 30 seconds to both rant and then respond to rants. And that's how the game is played. Blinko.
Yeah. All right.
So who do you want to go first? I'm game either way.
Doesn't matter to me. I tell you what, let's be fair. Since you went first in buy or sell, I'll go first here. How about that?
Okay.
All right. Here we go. I'm going to start off with the NBA, and I'm excited about tonight. Spurs fans, I'm going to check out Mr. Wembanyama. He's been putting up some freaky numbers. Plus, I can watch him before that team is truly relevant and makes me want to cry as a Mavs fan. And then it's Golden State and Denver in the nightcap. Ketch always says the NBA is a good booty call. I'm answering the booty call tonight. I'm going to be peeking in. I've already got it set to record the Spurs game, and then I'll be checking it out till late tonight. Ketch, I'm in on some NBA today.
Good for you, Chad. Oh, hold on. Is that a yellow light? When do we get the green light?
You told him to pause it.
Okay, well, I don't need I'm good. I was gonna say good for you, Chad, and the booty call. I said pause on green. At the end of the day, I'm getting enough NBA action. I'm paying attention. I know how well my Sixers are doing. I watched James Harden on Monday night not do very well with the Clippers. So welcome aboard. I'm fine with your NBA take.
All right, fair enough. What you got?
Well, now, so what am I doing here? I'm waiting for the light. I'm waiting for it to go green, right?
Just like drag racing.
Okay. Guys, why don't you come up with something else to taunt me about beyond It's Austin and 85%? Those things happened 8 and 13 years ago, respectively. The thing is, I feel like I mess up every day. So why aren't there new insults? You guys think I'm literally jinxing the Longhorn football team each and every Saturday. Why can't you taunt me about that?
Ketch, look, the way it works is your greatness just never leaves them. They have to keep it going. It's part of your lore. It's part of your story. And for some reason, I can't convince them that sometimes it's what y'all are being told instead of it's what y'all actually think. But when you stand out on that line, see, that's the thing. You're the kind that you're willing to get on that line and say, this is what I think. And they're just going to remember them. They've got good memory. So I don't know what you're going to do about it. All right, I do know what I'm going to do about this. I'm going to put the hat on again because you know what? The Texas Rangers won the world championship. I know Ketch says it does weird things to my glasses, turns me into Roy Orbison, crying over you. But I am not crying for the championship. It's fantastic. The Rangers won it all. It is so much fun when your team actually wins, especially when it's a team that you never knew if they were going to win for sure. My little Rangers won it all. I'm so excited. I've got more merch on the way. I just love it.
Well, put it back on.
Okay.
Because if you're going to be Roy Orbison, I can be Katie Lang, right?
Sure.
Crying. Sorry. That's all I really have. Like, you're allowed to do. You're allowed to be the Rangers. You get to wear. It's like the spoils that come with victory. Crying.
Glad it wasn't a minute clock. Go ahead, Ketch.
So I've kind of had it up to here with Urban Meyer and his hot takes in his quest to be okay in the world of college football again after he kind of revealed himself to just be creepy old guy who nobody wants around anymore. He said of Jalen Milroe, quote, right now, the Reggie Bush, Percy Harvin of college football is playing quarterback at Alabama, and they're running him.
I did not hear that comment, but I'll tell you what, every bit of watching Jalen Milroe last week, I did not think of either one of those two guys for 1 second. It did not occur. What he is, though, to me right now, he is what Jalen Hurts was at Bama when he really got that run game going. Now, he's not quite, it's a little different when they're throwing the ball. Him as a running quarterback is pretty impressive. I cannot believe LSU let that dude have 4 touchdowns. That is crazy. Staying in the SEC, but farther down the discussion, as an Aggie fan, watching this Jimbo Fisher team spinning their wheels right now, it is absolutely crazy. I'm trying to figure out what the move is. If they go 7-5, LSU beats them, whether it's bad or not. Do you keep Jimbo? I guess they're probably going to have to. But what I keep asking myself is, A, are you willing to go with a new coach to start your run where Texas and Oklahoma are in the conference? And B, are you willing to get a defensive coach?
I'm waiting for the – okay, green, go. I think you're doomed, Chad. You're just doomed. The Aggies I think where the Aggies are that's most concerning right now is that I think this could be a Tom Herman. There are years where the only guy that's available is Charlie Strong. And I don't know that everything's lined up for A&M to hire the guy they would need to hire if they did fire Jimbo Fisher.
It's painful.
I mean, I'm just saying. My next thing is Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. Do you know how I know Jerry Jones isn't running the team anymore? Because they've got a really good team, and we're not seeing the desperation trades that I think an old-ass Jerry would make with a team that seems like it could be a player or two away. I'm in the middle of fantasy football right now, and I'm trading all kinds of assets for next year, for this year, and Jerry's not doing that.
Ketch, he did what I told him to do. I told him to be boring like Sark, and he's kind of been effectively boring. The press conferences early. I know he had a couple little things that some people got into, but I enjoyed this version of Jerry. But we all have to remember he taught everything he knows and doesn't know to Steven. It's still a family business. He's still the president, the GM, the, football ops guy or whatever. They still don't have a real football GM, and they still don't have anybody that matters when it matters, that cares about time like we do in this freaking game. All right, Ketch, let's talk comedy. I watched the documentary on Carlos Mencia last night on Vice. He was one of my favorite comics back in the day. I saw him at A&M while I was there. Kind of like The Run, but then Carlos got accused of joke stealing, and there was all this kind of stuff. I looked him up, though. He's still out on the road, Ketch, and come December, he's going to Killeen for 3 nights. So, A, would you go see Carlos Mencia with me in Killeen? And if not, give me a comedian that you want to go see right now.
No, I do not want to go to Killeen with you for anything.
Fair.
Anything. No offense to Killeen, but I lived in Waco and I've seen Killeen.
All right.
Who would I go see? I love comedy. So I'd go see him in Austin or in my neck of the woods because I love comedy shows.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you have to twist my arm to go do that. I'm just not going to Killeen.
Fair enough.
Kind of upset at Popeye's chicken, Chad.
Uh-oh.
When they first came out with their version of the chicken sandwich, people were waiting in New York City lines around the block just to get a Popeye's chicken sandwich. But now that the sandwich has been out for a little while, the quality of the Popeye's chicken sandwich has suffered. I don't know if it's because of the chicken shortages or what, but the Popeye's chicken sandwich has gotten so bad that today I just said no.
Wow. I'm going to stand up for the Popeye's chicken sandwich because first off, I haven't had one of the original, one of those originals in a while. So I do not know if the quality's gone down on my side of things. But recently I had that blackened one that we talked about where they added bacon and cheese to it, and it was delightful. So I think that one is still good. And for what it is on the breaded chicken sandwich, I don't like the super spicy one, but I still like that regular one. I'll stand up for Popeyes. I'll say that the Popeyes in the Austin area is still making a good chicken sandwich.
Step it up, the Woodlands.
That's my contention. Last one for me. Back to the 12-team playoff and where we're headed. Not to get too worried too quick, but just remember that the G5s have to be a part of this. It makes me sad every week when I think of it, but not only does the G5 get to be a part of it, kids, there might be 2. You realize that, right? If we don't have 5 power conferences that they respect when the Pac-12 dies, they may have 2 G5s in the first expanded 12 team. We still don't know what it's going to be. I'm scared they put 2 G5s in there. I want to play a man's game.
They're G5s. I just don't care.
You'll care when they're in your playoff.
Maybe. Maybe, but I don't know that I would care this year. The only way I think I will care is if I'm 11 or 12 in the playoff rankings. Then I'm going to care about the G5s.
Right. If you're Oregon State, you're going to care. One more, Ketch.
All right, my last one of the day. Is this your last one? Are you done?
I'm done. That was it.
My last one is this caught my eye today. Juniors who are entering the NFL draft this year will be able or be allowed to play in the East-West Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the HBCU Legacy Bowl. Like, we're at a point now where turning pro early means you get to do all of the events. I think for a school like Texas, where they're going to have juniors who are thinking about it, those bowl game invitations are going to matter.
That is interesting because you want to do what helps the player the most. The one thing that I thought of negatively as you're going through that is that's going to affect even more bowl games. We're already seeing guys duck out of bowl games anyway. So now you're going to see the juniors. I mean, it's going to be about the same, but they'll duck out of those bowl games. They'll focus in on those workouts. But you know what? Those are games I don't always watch a ton of. But if I know the badass juniors are in those games too, I'm probably tuning in. So I think it's a good move.
The reason why that stands out, I need a little bonus time. And that's how we play Blinko.
No, we're done. That's how Blinko's done.
I won't tell you what bowl game it was, but I had a bowl game rep reach out to me yesterday and say, Ketch, I got something for you. Like hit me back.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling there are no accidents in life. I think it's connected to this story. I wonder if there is an invite to one of these bowl games that I need to know about. So I'll be following up on that later today. I was a little lazy in getting back. Actually, I got back with the guy and I said, do you want me to call you? Or like, how do you want to connect? And then we just didn't get connected. But I wonder if there's a Texas Senior Bowl. I don't think a guy like T'Vondre Sweat even needs it. But I wonder if he's a Senior Bowl type guy this year. Would you go to the Senior Bowl if you were T'Vondre Sweat? I think he's kind of a fringe first. So maybe.
My gut is yes. But obviously you got to see how the season pans out. And again, when I look at this week, Ketch, to come back around to Texas TCU, I think he's so big this week. I think he and Murphy needs to have a big flash game. That TCU offensive line can be had. Texas needs to get after them early, get that crowd calmed down. That place can get some energy to it right there at about 45,000, somewhere in there, 45, 50. Last time they're ever going to play Texas, probably ever. Because Texas, unless they play in a playoff game, Texas will control not playing TCU in a lesser bowl game. Yeah. So this is the last time. And they'll be fired up. They'll be ready to go. T'Vondre Sweat is a guy I'll watch throughout Saturday. I think he can shut all that down. This does not need to become about Texas defensive backs because we've seen them give up some stuff. I think 93 can help shut that down on the front side.
Real quick, since we played should T'Vondre Sweat go to the Senior Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
If you're Byron Murphy and you're thinking about going pro and the Senior Bowl invites you or says, if you go pro, you'll have an invitation to the Senior Bowl, how much would that impact your decision if you were Byron Murphy?
That's a fascinating question. And now it is a question. If this holds, that's a question we're going to have for these younger guys. So you're going to have to make, this is weird. They're going to have to declare then. These games happen in December, don't they? December, January?
January. They happen after the season's over.
January, right? But then do they normally happen after that? I guess they do happen after the decision for the seniors when they have to make their choice of if I'm going at.
Well, no, because seniors are just done.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. So do those games normally happen after the time the juniors have to decide? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out.
I have to look it up, but it's pretty close.
Because I want to say some of those games happen early January, and that decision day might not be till the 19th or 20th or something. As long as they line all that up, That is a wild way to look at things for, like you said, a guy like Murphy. Could we have an NBA version where I get to go and hang out at the Senior Bowl and go through stuff and ask all my questions and I could still go back to school? Or if I'm going to that Senior Bowl, I'm committed. Because that would add that's a whole different layer I hadn't thought of.
It looks like the Senior Bowl is going to be on Saturday, February 3rd.
Okay.
So obviously that would be after the day to decline, that would be after the deadline.
But then this is it's a new version of it. These are juniors that theoretically, if you're a senior and you're done, when you get to the Senior Bowl, they're not going to tell you, we think you should go back because you're not getting drafted and here's your thing. But if you could go and find out your draft grade and then you don't love it and go back.
Well, that's not going to be a thing that's going to exist.
Yeah, they're not going to give them that option. You got to make that choice.
I just think
I
think what's interesting, if Alex were on right now, because he loves the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would tell you that juniors playing in the Senior Bowl is a big deal. That's a game that, if you get that invite, you're usually baked into a really good draft grade.
That you got to go.
Yeah. It'll be something I'm curious. I'll probably just ask Alex about this. But I bet his reaction would be that it will have an impact on some guys. That even if you turn down the invite, getting the invite, it would be an indication of really good NFL draft stock going in.
I would also wonder if it affects the lesser seniors. Does it affect the seniors at the bottom of the list and it results in them not getting invites? It'll have to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. By the numbers, it's just going to have to.
No, look, I'll tell you what, you say, hold on, I'm going to call Alex. We're going to do very unconventional.
Hey, Ketch, before you do that real quick, he's actually talking about it in our Slack channel right now in the general tab.
Are you serious?
Topic. Yeah. And so
I had no idea.
Alex said the Senior Bowl probably won't allow them to do that, but the Shrine Bowl probably would, and it would be an advantage to the Shrine Bowl if they did, allowing the juniors. So
weird. That'd be strange. So the juniors wouldn't be able to go to all the bowl games, but
I guess it's up to the bowl,
Right.
Alex says they haven't allowed draft eligible juniors since 2015, but only if they graduated. But I'm telling you, well, look, I'm gonna call back the person. Now that I know that this might be part of what the person who reached out to me yesterday was going to tell me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get some information on exactly what it means for that particular bowl game. But that's funny. I had no idea that Travis and Alex were literally talking about it as we talk right now. So
that is wild. So we would expect Alex will be talking about that and among other things in Football with Friends today. Check that out at 3:30. Anything else we got to get, Ketch? Or are you done?
I'm good. I thought Blinko went good today. What do you think, Blake? Come in for a second. We need to work on the stoplight thing a little bit, but it was better than the last time.
I thought we had it rolling by the end.
Yeah.
I like
the stoplight is there to just give you a few extra seconds.
It's needed. That was what we didn't have last time. Yeah. I was like, Blake, stop it, restart it. Come on, you're screwing me. But now, no, I think that was good. The issue is Blinko the name of the game?
Ooh, I saw someone said no huddle earlier. I thought that was pretty good.
I hated that one. No offense.
You hated that one?
I did. There was one that was before no huddle. I kind of liked, but
tempo. I don't know.
I kind of like up tempo's not bad, except I don't know.
Now I like Blinko.
I think Blinko's got a sellable quality to it.
I think it just we found it organically as it happened. I think it might be it.
So, Blinko Blitz. Ooh.
I think Blinko.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think you just need to
Barfo.
And then what you need to do, if we're going to go with that, Blake, you just need to put a picture of like Blinky the Ghost.
Ghost.
on the stop sign or whatever.
Red
Yeah.
zone,
Yeah, just Blinky blinks like 5 times.
word vomit.
Word vomit. Word vomit is an interesting one.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what?
Take the points.
Take the points.
Take the
That's
points is
good.
pretty genius, Blake May. That's pretty
That is
good.
good. And whoever said red zone, we probably shouldn't do red zone because we'll do it way more efficiently than Texas, and that would be
Well,
fair.
that's why Blake May was the one who said red zone, and then he followed up with take the points.
Yeah, there you go. Take the
What we
points.
call
Red
it?
zone.
The Red Zone Channel.
Think you're onto something with that one.
7 minutes of commercial free. No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. All right. So whatever we're going to call it, Blinko or otherwise, that was fun today. We'll do that at some point. You can always be looking for that in the show. Tomorrow is Thursday, which means Brian Jones hopefully will join us at 1:20. They do have on CBS this weekend. What are they rolling with? Tennessee, Missouri is their big game this week. We'll talk to him about that, the way the SEC is laying out, and the night game with Ole Miss and Georgia, which is actually on ESPN, but we'll get Brian's thoughts on that and his Longhorns and all the other good stuff. That's at 1:20 tomorrow. We'll put a show around that like we always do on a Thursday and have a great time. Football with friends coming up at 3:30. Tonight we got the Outsiders for you. What are you drinking Wednesday at 9 o'clock? Tonight with the fellas. Thanks to Blake, the super producer, for doing his great work. Thanks to all of you on the Specs chat. Up over 300 folks throughout the show. I think we may have even threatened 400 today. Thank you so much for that. Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods, one of our great sponsors here at Orange Bloods Live until 12 noon tomorrow, where I will be wearing a shirt that won't be this distracting. Maybe.
No, that was
Maybe.
good content today.
Maybe. We are house divided.